Since discovering my pregnancy, my health has been deteriorating. I can't eat, I can't sleep. In less than 2 months, I've nearly become a skeleton. My husband is heartbroken for me and tries different ways to make nutritious meals for me. For the sake of my health, I try my best to eat them, but my body showed no changes. It wasn't until after the prenatal checkup that I realized my baby had absorbed all the nutrients from my body, yet they also advised against terminating the pregnancy, as it could easily lead to the death of both mother and child. Finally, when the child was born, I still couldn't hold on and died from massive bleeding. Before I died, I unexpectedly heard my daughter's thoughts, quitting work as soon as she got pregnant. Isn't that what a pampered wife does? Even after getting married, she dresses so seductively, clearly afraid someone will steal her husband. She's definitely one of those moms who loves competing with her daughter. Now that there's no mom to compete with me, I can grow up healthily. Tears streamed down my face, and I couldn't help but pray in my heart, if there really is an afterlife, I hope I can be given a different child. When I opened my eyes again, I heard my husband Shirjamu's joyful voice beside me. Honey, you're pregnant, we're going to have a baby. I was dazed for 2 seconds before realizing that I seemed to have returned to the time when I first discovered I was pregnant. In my previous life, both Shirjamu and I were overjoyed by this news. Even though my belly hadn't yet shown, we were eager to start choosing names for the baby. We both eagerly anticipated the arrival of this child. I have been in poor health since I was a child, and for this child, I specifically resigned to focus on prenatal care. However, I never expected that my health would deteriorate even more. The child in my womb almost absorbed all the nutrients from me, leaving me looking like a ghost, too afraid to even step out of the house. If it weren't for Shirjamu always being by my side, cheering me up, I think I might become depressed. Finally, after enduring 10 months, I thought I could be free, but it ended my life. Just thinking about the sounds I heard at that time makes me feel terrified and uneasy. It was like the voice of a demon, constantly echoing in my ears. Even though my stomach felt nothing, I sensed a twinge of pain. No, this child is going to be the death of me. I absolutely cannot allow what happened in my previous life to happen again. With that thought, I tightly gripped Shirjamu's arm. Only then did he notice something was off with me, asking anxiously, "What's wrong, honey? Are you feeling unwell somewhere? I'll go call the doctor right now." Seeing that he was about to get up, I quickly grabbed him and shook my head. Just as I was about to speak, I wanted to say that I want to abort this child. Then I saw my cousin Jing Jiehui walk in from outside, angrily throwing what she was holding onto the chair. I frowned, feeling a bit strange. I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, Jing Jiehui had also come to my hospital room from outside at this time. However, back then, she was beaming with joy. As soon as she approached, she took my hand and said, "Sister, I secretly asked the doctor, and I'm carrying a son in my belly. Since you just found out you're pregnant today, I'll generously let you share in my good fortune." Jing Jiehui only wanted a boy. When she was first pregnant, she made her stance clear: if it's a boy in my belly, I'll give birth to him. If it's a girl, I'll abort it. It's a waste of time. As early as when the embryo was just forming, she sought out the renowned midwife in the village to determine the gender of the child in her womb. To be honest, the midwife was quite accurate. She ended up giving birth to a boy. It's just that there were some other issues, but that's not the main point. The real question is, how is it different? Before I could even ask her, she started cursing and said, "What bad luck." The midwife clearly said I was carrying a boy, so how did it turn into a girl? Jing Jiehui looked utterly confused, and I was just as puzzled. I looked at her and asked, "Did the doctor tell you that?" Of course she didn't say it outright, but I could tell from her tone and the way she spoke. She even tried to console me by saying boys and girls are the same. Was she just afraid I might consider an abortion? It's actually different. My eyelid twitched as I looked at her 4-month pregnant belly, my heart racing wildly. I raised my hand to touch my own belly, unable to resist a bold speculation. Before I could verify it, I saw her say with a look of disdain, "If I had known it was a dead girl, I would have aborted it as soon as I got pregnant, wasting 4 months of my time for nothing." The more she spoke, the angrier she became, and she immediately made up her mind. "No, I'm going to schedule an abortion right now. I want to get rid of this dead girl." As soon as she finished saying this, she let out a cry of pain. She lay on the ground, rolling around, continuously complaining of stomach pain. It was Shirjamu who first reacted, calling for the doctor. Only then did I slowly come to my senses, convinced in my heart that the child had gone into Jing Jiehui's womb. I clearly remember, in my previous life, after I said I wanted an abortion, I was just like Jing Jiehui, trembling with pain all over. Thinking of this, I heard a voice, want to get rid of me? Impossible, it's all that dead woman Zheng Huayu's fault. She deliberately refused to nourish me to prevent my birth. If she wanted to die, that's fine, but she even dragged me down. This time, I'll choose a different mother, and I'll definitely grow up healthy. My breathing quickened by 2 beats, and those terrifying days seemed to engulf me again. Shi Jiamu asked gently and with concern, "Honey, are you scared?" My face pale, I didn't know how to explain the matter, so I simply nodded along with his words. The next second, I heard that inner voice again, "Damn woman, why are you looking at me like that? Could it be that even when I'm in someone else's belly, you're still worried I'll compete with you? My wife is really disgusting, stay away from me." Why does Zheng Jiehui also want to abort the baby? Could it be that the dead woman said something bad about me in front of her? Let her suffer a bit, then she won't abort me. That dead woman is like that. After cursing me, she spoke cheerfully again. Although Zheng Jiehui is not good-looking, she takes good care of the child in her womb. As long as it's in her womb, I'm sure there will be endless nutritional supplements. Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel a surge of sarcasm. Zheng Jiehui did give the child in her womb a lot of nutritional supplements, but only if it was a son. But it wasn't. Thinking this way, I heard Shi Jiamu whisper in my ear, "Honey, if you're not ready yet, we don't have to rush into having a child." The joy on Shi Jiamu's face was replaced by tension. If it had been just a few minutes earlier, would have definitely decided to terminate the pregnancy without hesitation, even if it means 2 lives lost. I don't want to go through the pain of my previous life again. But now, I touch the child in my belly. If my daughter has ended up in Zheng Jiehui's womb, that means the child I'm carrying now is the one from Zheng Jiehui's previous life. I don't favor boys over girls. Whether it's a boy or a girl, as long as it's my child, I'll love them. It's just that I remember this child seems to have had a tough time too. Before it was certain whether the baby in her belly was a boy or a girl, Zheng Jiehui tried many folk remedies. She even sought out a master to perform rituals for her, praying that the child in her belly would definitely be a boy. After confirming that she was carrying a boy, she began to hope for her son to achieve greatness. She bought a lot of supplements and ate them every day. In the end, when the child was born, he turned out to be mentally disabled. Zheng Jiehui was unwilling to accept this and, feeling that her big account was ruined, started training a small account again, ignoring and despising this child, thinking he is a disgrace. To some extent, these two really are a match made in heaven. From now on, she won't torment me anymore. She'll definitely torment Zheng Jiehui instead. But thinking of the days in my previous life when I couldn't eat or sleep, I still couldn't help but feel nervous for several days. But this kind of thing, in this life, did not happen. The baby in my belly is exceptionally well behaved, so much so that I sometimes doubt whether I'm really pregnant. It's Zheng Jiehui who, almost 5 months along, still vomits every day to the point of feeling dizzy, can't eat, can't sleep. In just 1 week, she lost a whole circle. If this continues, she will soon become like my previous life. Similarly, the doctor does not recommend her to terminate the pregnancy. I could sense that Zheng Jiehui was almost going crazy. Even so, she never forgot her original intention. Since she couldn't abort the child, she would find a way to turn the baby in her womb into a boy. So, Zheng Jiehui found some channels from who knows where and sold a lot of folk remedies. On that day, I once again heard the voice from her stomach. What's wrong with Zheng Jiehui? She actually despises me for being a girl. It must be Zheng Huayu who said bad things about me when I wasn't paying attention. How annoying. She knew what these things were, and even when Zheng Jiehui drank them, she didn't try to take them. Time passed like this, and while her stomach showed no changes, Zheng Jiehui's body began to have problems. Her overall condition also became very poor. Her face was pale, with dark circles around her eyes, and her appearance looked even more frightening than in my previous life. Zheng Jiehui's character wasn't great, and our relationship wasn't good either. It's just that with this layer of family relationship, and the two families living close to each other, contact is inevitable. Under normal circumstances, I definitely wouldn't intervene. After all, Zheng Jiehui has always been stubborn and unpersuadable, but seeing her like this now reminds me of my previous life. A soft-hearted reminder came to her, be kinder to the child in your womb, and you might not feel so unwell. In her previous life, she hated me, thinking I would compete with her, so she wanted to kill me. But her choice of Zheng Jiehui indicates that she sees Zheng Jiehui as the ideal mother. Therefore, the two should be able to coexist peacefully. I never expected that with just one sentence from me, Zheng Jiehui would stare at me with cold eyes. She asked me, "Sis, it wasn't you who caused this, was it? As soon as you got pregnant, the baby in my belly turned into a girl. Did you steal my child? I frowned and took a step back, feeling a bit more on guard. Although I wasn't the one who caused it, she had unexpectedly stumbled upon the truth. I exchanged with the child in her belly, but this was the choice of two children, not related to me. Although I thought this in my heart, I pretended to be calm on the surface. Jiahui, whether it's a boy or a girl is predestined. Since the child has come into your belly, it means she has a connection with you. Nonsense. It must be you. You keep saying it doesn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl, but you still want a boy. Watching her approach me, I took a step back. I calmly emphasized, it has nothing to do with me. Stop making excuses. It must be because of you. I don't care. Give me back my child right now. Sis, I advised you to have a child before, and you weren't in a hurry. Since you're not in a hurry, just go and have an abortion. I stared at her in shock, unable to believe what I had just heard. As long as you get rid of the child, my son will definitely come back. Seeing her about to strike me, I quickly took a few steps back, but she showed no regard for the child in her womb, charging straight at me. At the same time, thoughts echoed from within her belly, beat her, make her lose the baby. A woman who even competes with her own daughter doesn't deserve to have a child. I don't know what I did to give her such a misconception, to make her hold such a grudge against me. Could it simply be because I dressed well while pregnant, or because I quit my job after getting pregnant? These 2 points determine that I am a mother who loves competition. I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't have time to think, because Jing Jiahui is acting like she's possessed right now, charging at me like a madwoman. Without thinking, I dodged, but she rubbed her slightly painful stomach and showed no intention of giving up. Fortunately, at that moment, Shi Jiamu and Zhou Zhe, Jing Jiahui's husband, walked in. Shi Jiamu quickly shielded me and asked coldly, "What do you think you're doing?" Zhou Zhe, standing nearby, also hurriedly scolded, "What madness are you up to again?" Zhou Zhe now needed Shi Jiamu's help and certainly didn't dare to offend us, and Jing Jiahui was afraid of her husband and listened to him. At this point, she naturally dared not make any reckless moves, but she still couldn't help but accuse Zhou Zhe. It must be my sister who used some kind of trick to swap me with the child in her belly. My son will definitely have a bright future, and she wants to steal his destiny. How despicable. Zhou Zhe glared at her. What nonsense are you spouting? Apologize to your sister right now. Zhou Zhe must have been aware of Jing Jiahui's actions. He just never bothered to intervene. That's why they say, two people can't sleep in the same bed without being alike. Now, saying this is just because I'm afraid Shi Jiamu might be unhappy. Jing Jiahui was unwilling to apologize and wanted to continue speaking. Then, I heard Shi Jiamu, who was standing beside me, say, "No need to apologize, but if you still want me to help you network, don't let her appear in front of my wife anymore." Zhou Zhe heard this and almost immediately assured her in a flattering manner. Shi Jiamu didn't say anything more and led me away by the hand. After I told him what had just happened, he remained silent for 2 seconds before saying, "Your cousin is probably possessed. Don't go back to mom's place for now, and I'll accompany you when you go out." I nodded, not daring to let my guard down. I also had a gut feeling that Jing Jiahui would never give up, not to mention, she's carrying a ticking bomb inside her. Once that bomb acts up, she'll probably blame me for it. What I didn't expect was that during this time, Jing Jiahui actually did calm down. I don't know if it was Zhou Zhe's words that worked, or if she was busy messing around with that child. She didn't show up for a whole month. It wasn't until a month later, when Shi Jiamu accompanied me for a prenatal checkup and then sent me to my mother's house. He has an important collaboration meeting tonight and can only take half a day off, but today is my mom's birthday, and she wants me to come over early to hang out. I thought, with so many people around today, Jing Jiahui probably won't make a move. Shi Jiamu also cautioned, stand where there are lots of people, so even if she does something, someone will stop her. Jing Jiahui indeed had not considered taking action in such a situation. What I never expected was that she would bring the village midwife over at this very moment. She insisted that I let the midwife check whether I was carrying a boy or a girl. When we refused, she brandished a kitchen knife, threatened, "If you're carrying a boy, you must abort it." In fact, when I first saw Jing Jiahui, I almost didn't recognize her. She used to be on the heavier side, but in just a month, she had almost slimmed down to a stick. There was no trace left of her former self. Then, I heard the voice of the child in her womb. "You actually want to swap me back into Jing Jiahui's womb? I'll make you experience what Jing Jiahui felt too." I was stunned, thinking this child was too obsessive, so, no matter what kind of mother she has, she's never satisfied. She chose to enter Jing Jiahui's womb herself. which could be seen as a case of evil begetting evil, because the next second, I heard her say, "Not only are you going to replace me, but you're also taking random pills to abort me, bad woman, just you wait, I will definitely make you regret it." Listening to this childish tone, it's filled with obvious hatred, no need to think about it. On the day she is born, Jing Jiahui will suffer greatly. After birth, what kind of chaos will this mother and child cause? But I don't feel sympathy for these two right now. One tried to take my life in my previous life, and the other wants to take the life of my child in this one. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but touch my belly. This child is very well behaved and doesn't cause any trouble at all. Unlike my previous pregnancy, I don't have morning sickness, and my appetite is even getting better. I weighed myself the other day and found that I've actually gained weight. Since she actively chose Jing Jiahui, it means this child has also actively chosen me, so I will definitely protect it well. When I came back to my senses, I saw my parents nervously shielding me behind them. They all urged, "Jiahui, whether your baby is a boy or a girl is destined by heaven, it has nothing to do with Xiaoyu. We're all family. What are you doing with a knife? Today is even Xiaoyu's mother's birthday, let's talk it out. Put the knife down. That's right, you're still carrying a child. Be careful, a child. I wish this child would disappear right now. I don't care, either you get rid of the child, or we'll die together today." As soon as Jing Jiahui finished speaking, the child's thoughts echoed, "Is this woman sick or what? Both sisters are sick. One loves competing, the other is a lunatic. I just want to grow up well. Why is it so hard? I should have stayed in Auntie Zheng Huayu's belly, at least she wouldn't bully me." I let out a sarcastic laugh, stirring up a wave of mockery in my mind. So, I should be grateful that she let me off. Moving my gaze upward from her stomach, I fixed my eyes on Jing Jiahui's face. In my previous life, our situations were exactly the opposite, so, nothing like that happened, but every time we meet, she always shows off in front of me with an air of superiority. Jing Jiahui always felt inferior to me. In school, I had good grades, and everyone loved to play with me. She had a bad temper, and no one wanted to associate with her. All the family members liked me and told her to learn from me. Even when it comes to finding a partner for marriage, no one is as outstanding as my partner. Jing Jiahui believes she has lost to me her whole life, but she has managed to outdo me in this matter. Every time we meet, she starts making sarcastic remarks. Maybe it's better to say it's good to have a son. Sons are obedient, sensible, and well-behaved. With all that fuss in your belly, it's clearly a girl. To be honest, sister, your life isn't as good as mine, but just moments ago, it suddenly dawned on me. When I had just given birth, Jing Jiahui was more eager than anyone else. However, after seeing that I had given birth to a daughter, I clearly felt her relief. Immediately after, she started to accuse me. I said, "Why my son is so stupid? It must be because of the bad luck from your daughter. Maybe if your daughter dies, my son will go back to normal." She did indeed die later, otherwise, she wouldn't have been reborn with me. I wonder if her son returned to normal after she passed away. What I do know is that no matter what issues her child has, she would always blame me. At this thought, my eyes darkened. Watching her go mad, I unflinchingly exposed the truth. If you're unhappy that you're carrying a girl, why not just abort and try for another one? Even if I don't have a child, you're still carrying a girl. Did you hear that clearly? You're pregnant with a girl. I deliberately provoked Jing Jiahui, and I successfully got to her. She let out a scream, clutching her stomach and crying out in pain as soon as she started speaking. "If you dare to listen to Jing Jiahui and abort me, I'll make you suffer to death right now." I twitched my lips, not surprised by this outcome at all. It's better to let the two of them hurt each other than to get my hands dirty. Indeed, the next second, Jing Jiahui punched herself in the stomach. "You little brat, you want to take my life. Don't you see who the owner of this body is, me or you?" After the punch, the person inside seemed to be stunned. She thought the child was scared, so she hit again. Then, I heard a scream in my mind, "Ah, you wicked woman, you really wanted to harm me." As this inner voice faded, Jing Jiahui seemed to be in even more pain. Everyone else stared in shock at this scene until she collapsed to the ground. Only then did I snap back to reality and hurriedly took her to the hospital. A group of people followed along to the hospital. My mother patted her chest, looking relieved as she said, "It's a good thing you're okay." I knew she didn't like the child in her belly, but I never expected her to be this crazy. "Yes," I nodded in agreement. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe there could be someone like Jing Jiahui in this world apart from our family. Jing Jiahui's side is actually somewhat concerned. After all, she's heavily pregnant now and could easily run into trouble. Zose couldn't help but say to me, "Sister, I know it's Jiehui's fault, but she's emotionally unstable right now. If she has wronged you in any way, please be more understanding. If something goes wrong, it won't be easy to fix. Isn't this blaming me for making Jing Jiehui upset?" I let out a cold laugh, looked at him, and questioned, "She's pregnant, so am I not pregnant too?" When she pointed a knife at me, "Why didn't you consider my feelings?" Seeing that I was angry, my mother quickly tried to calm me down. Only then did Zose realize he had said the wrong thing. Only when I heard Shijiamu's voice behind me did I realize that he wasn't admitting his mistake but had seen Shijiamu arrive. I didn't acknowledge her apology but instead said to Shijiamu, "Honey, I want to go home." He patted my head and said, "I'm here to take you home." As soon as the words left my mouth, a voice suddenly echoed in my mind, "That damn woman Zheng Huayu, I'm in so much pain, and she's out there hugging and holding some man. She doesn't care about my life at all. I knew she wanted me dead in my previous life." Hearing this, I could only feel a wave of mockery. First of all, she is not my child in this life at all. Even if she were my child, I wouldn't keep her. Given that I have memories of my past life, I do want her dead, but not in the past life. In this one, however, since I can still hear her thoughts, it means she is still alive. So persistent. The next second, I heard her say, "No, I absolutely must not let Jing Jiehui meet Zheng Huayu. She was so good to the child in her previous life. She must have believed Zheng Huayu's instigation. That damn woman, Zheng Huayu, wants me dead, but I won't let her have her way. I will give birth." I chuckled, not really angry at her words. If she could really keep Jing Jiehui from appearing in front of me, I might even thank her. When we left, my mom came with us, but before leaving, I didn't forget to say to Zheng Jiehui's mom, "Let's keep our interactions to a minimum from now on. I told you today not to invite Jiehui, she's just not herself right now, but you wouldn't listen. You said she wanted to celebrate my birthday with me, and this is the attitude she brings to my birthday celebration." After these words, the expressions on the faces of Zheng Jiehui's family turned sour. Not long after I returned, Zheng Jiehui woke up. She herself hadn't expected that, even after all that, the baby still hadn't been lost. Plus, the doctor advised her to be careful now, and Zheng Jiehui, valuing her own health, didn't say anything more about harming her belly. However, she still couldn't accept it. Not only was she unwilling to accept that the baby in her belly was a girl, but she also felt powerless to do anything about it. She tried many folk remedies and prayed every night, hoping to turn the baby in her belly into a boy. That child was narrow-minded and held grudges, so hearing her say such things naturally didn't make things easy for her. All of this I heard from my mother. My mother didn't interact with them, but since they all lived in the same area, she learned about it from the neighbors' gossip. Zheng Jiehui is busy outsmarting her child. She probably doesn't realize that the people around her have already turned her into a joke, chatting about her after every meal. Some have even started placing bets, wagering on what exactly she will end up giving birth to. Several months passed in this manner. Every day, besides quietly nurturing my pregnancy, I am learning how to be a new mother. As the baby in my belly grows bigger, my anticipation grows stronger. Feeling the fetal movement, I gently touched my belly, and just then, I heard a knock at the door. As I stood up, the knocking sound turned into the voice of Zheng Jiehui. "Sister, I've come to see you." During this time, I've reflected deeply at home, and now I know I was wrong. Zheng Jiehui's voice sounded even weaker, but I didn't believe her words. When a weasel pays a New Year visit to a chicken, it's never with good intentions. That's exactly what Zheng Jiehui is like. I sat back down, with no intention of getting up to open the door, let alone speaking to her. Sure, Jiamu isn't home right now, and for the sake of myself and the children, I absolutely won't meet with her. Otherwise, who knows what she might do to me. I don't know why she's here, but I dare not let my guard down around her. But soon, I understood the purpose from the voice in my heart. Zheng Huayu is hiding at home. She definitely doesn't want to give the child back to you. You must make her open the door, since you hate me, and I hate you too. Just switch me back. I stared in disbelief, my whole heart rising in shock. It was obvious that her words didn't sound like she was talking to herself, nor did they sound like she was talking to me. Instead, it sounded like she was talking to Zheng Jiehui. Could it be that Zheng Jiehui could also hear her thoughts? Were they able to communicate? Realizing this, I felt a chill run down my spine. I was thinking that it would be fine once the two of them left, but now, I suddenly feel a wave of fear. Zheng Jiehui will definitely go to any lengths for the child in my belly, and you should stop taking your anger out on me. It was Zheng Huayu who swapped the child with you. If you want to blame someone, blame her. A surge of anger rose within me. I never expected her to throw the blame onto me. I took a deep breath and calmed down. Should be grateful that I could hear her thoughts and prevent this from happening in time. I took out my phone and sent a message to Shurjiamu, which made me feel a bit more at ease. The knocking at the door outside didn't stop, until Zheng Jiehui started calling out in pain again. Skillfully, I frowned and didn't open the door because of that, because I suspected that Zheng Jiehui was doing this on purpose. Most likely to make me open the door. What I didn't expect was that not long after, I received a call from my neighbor, Xiao Zheng. Your sister is at your door, and it looks like she's about to give birth. I've already called 120 for help. Hearing this, I opened the door and immediately noticed faint traces of blood on the side of her leg. In such a situation, I couldn't just ignore it, so I had no choice but to accompany her to the hospital. Fortunately, Shi Jiamu came to find me soon after. Zheng Jiehui's emotions were too intense, leading to premature labor. The delivery process was extremely difficult. As I listened to the sounds coming from inside, I suddenly thought of my previous life. That's right, I died not long after giving birth. Thinking of this, I gripped Shi Jiamu's hand and told him what Zheng Jiehui had said. His eyes darkened, and he patted my hand. He said, "Don't worry, once my transfer order comes through after a while, we'll move when I start working at the headquarters." I nodded. That would be fine too. Moving to another city, she won't be able to come knocking on my door. When Zhou Zhe arrived, Zheng Jiehui hadn't been born yet. She's in good spirits though. Even at this time, she still wants to scold the child a couple of times. However, the child was not afraid and kept muttering, "If you hadn't given birth to me, we would both be dead here today, and you would never see your son again. If you want to die, die by yourself. I will be born anyway." After saying that, the child ignored Zheng Jiehui's body and pushed hard on its own. Nevertheless, Zheng Jiehui didn't say anything more. After all, for her son's strength was very powerful. She stopped talking and didn't argue with the child anymore. Not long after, the child was born. From what the doctor said, this child was malnourished in the womb, and being a premature baby, it's likely to be very weak in the future. In the past, if Zheng Jiehui had heard such words, she would have started cursing the useless girl and money-losing goods again, but today, she said nothing and didn't even glance over. Instead, she held on to her last breath, waiting to be wheeled out of the delivery room. As he passed by me, he said, "I've already given birth to your child. Take it back and raise it yourself. When my child is born, I'll take it back." The doctors beside her were so shocked they didn't know how to react. Standing there, I couldn't snap out of it for a long time. She didn't wait for me to speak and continued, "Zheng Huayu, don't think I don't know what you've done. If you want a son, have one yourself. Don't even think about taking mine." She wanted to say more but finally couldn't hold on and fainted. Shi Jiamu and I didn't plan to ask about her well-being either. Once we confirmed she wasn't in trouble at our doorstep, we left. However, before leaving, I heard her inner thoughts again. "Damn woman, take me with you. Zheng Jiehui doesn't like girls, so she definitely won't treat me well. I should have known better than to switch places with him." She kept calling out to me from behind, but I acted as if I hadn't heard, not pausing for a moment. After returning home, Zheng Jiehui wanted to have the child brought over several times. Unfortunately, her body was very weak at the time, and she simply couldn't get out of bed. Zhou Zhe couldn't bear the shame of such a thing, so he naturally wasn't willing to do it. My mom said she saw that child when she went to the hospital for a physical examination. So pitiful. Zheng Jiehui thinks that's my child, not even feeding her milk, let alone giving her formula. It was Zheng Jiehui's mom who couldn't stand it and took the initiative to take care of her. Nevertheless, Zheng Jiehui still tried every means to stop me. She believed that I had switched her child, and I was her enemy. I smiled and only reminded my mother not to get involved in this matter. If they knew about my past life experiences, they definitely wouldn't feel sorry for her. This kind of child, even if you raise her with all your heart, will probably just turn into an ungrateful person. So, I don't feel the slightest bit of sympathy. Even if she regrets it now, it's not because she realizes how good I am, but because she realizes how bad Zheng Jiehui is. Zheng Jiehui being bad doesn't mean I'm good. Shi Jiamu's transfer order came through quickly. Before moving, we still went to the hospital for a checkup. After confirming that I was in good health and the baby was also healthy, Shi Jiamu felt reassured to move. However, on the way back from the hospital, I always felt like someone was following me. Shi Jiamu and I exchanged a glance, reading the same answer in each other's expressions. Sure enough, just as we were about to reach the entrance of the residential area, Zheng Jiehui couldn't hold back and rushed out. She commanded me, saying, "Zheng Huayu, you are not allowed to move. I gave her a speechless look and said without mercy, if you say any of this nonsense in front of me again, I'll call the mental hospital. I couldn't help but think to myself that with her current state, it would be easy to diagnose her as mentally ill. After all, if it weren't for first-hand experience, I wouldn't have believed that our children would be swapped, and I could hear her thoughts from inside her stomach. Jing Jiehui became even angrier after hearing that. I knew it. You must be planning to take my child away, so I'll never find him again. Zheng Huayu, how can you be so selfish? You already have your own child, why do you have to take my son away? That's my son, you must give him back to me. Can't communicate with someone like her. Shi Jiamu directly dialed the phone number of the mental hospital. As for why not contacting Zhou Zhe and the others, if they could control Jing Jiehui, such incidents wouldn't happen every time. Since they can't control her, it's better to leave it to those who can. The day Shi Jiamu and I left, Jing Jiehui was diagnosed with a mental illness. It's also her own fault for being so stubborn, insisting that the child in my womb was her son. Qiu Zhe and Jing Jiehui's mother both came to plead with us. They said the child was still young and couldn't be without a mother, asking me to explain to the doctor that it was just a joke between us sisters. I really couldn't help but laugh. I mocked, someone like her, even if she gets out, she won't take good care of the child. I didn't hold back, and they were all furious. I didn't care either. After all, once I leave this place, we'll have little contact after moving. Although Shi Jiamu was still busy with work, I also lived more comfortably and no longer had to worry every day. The day of childbirth went exceptionally smoothly for me. Seeing the little baby, my heart melted completely. In this life, we have both been moving towards each other, hoping that we can become a happy family. After my confinement period, my mother came to take care of me. They said that child Jing Jiehui probably won't live long, as no one in the Jing family or the Qiu family likes her now. They feel it's her fault that the family has come to this state. I forgot about it as soon as I heard it, but I never expected that child to be so tenacious. No matter how Jing Jiehui treated her, she was successfully born. No matter how others treat her now, she still survives. What I never anticipated was that she would come looking for me years later. She looked at me and asked, Mom, you've been reborn too, haven't you? Mom, I already know I was wrong. Can you take me home? Hearing her voice, I recognized her almost immediately. She looked very thin and pitiful, but I still felt no sympathy in my heart. Just as I was about to speak, I heard her voice again. You wretched woman, you've made me suffer so much. Just you wait, I will definitely come back. This time, she didn't speak out loud. It was her inner thoughts. I smiled and immediately took out my phone to dial 911. They took the child away. As she was being taken away, I could still see the hatred in her eyes, but I believe that after she is sent back to the Qiu family, this time, it won't be so easy for her to run away again. My baby is growing up healthy bit by bit, and my relationship with Shi Jiamu is getting better and better. Thank God for giving me a new life and allowing me to find happiness again. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. At the age of 18, my father asked my sister and me to draw lots. Whoever drew the long stick wouldn't have to marry right away and could continue studying, aiming for college. My sister got her wish to study, but she never made it to college. Later, when she started a business, she lost money again and again, ending up in debt and constantly on the run. In contrast, I drew the short stick and was forced to marry a disabled husband. After 3 years of marriage, my husband's leg ailment was cured, and not only that, he also caught the entrepreneurial wave of the 1980s. He quickly rose to become a major entrepreneur. Naturally, I became a wealthy wife. She claimed that I had stolen her life, and while I was back in the village visiting my parents, she pushed me off a cliff to my death. Opening my eyes again, we were back at the moment of drawing lots. This time, my younger sister pushed me aside, snatched the marriage lot, and exclaimed with joy, "What's the use of studying? Marrying a good man is the real way out." I smiled too. It seems my sister doesn't like the feeling of being in charge herself. My father had just broken 2 wooden sticks from the firewood pile to use as lots. My sister practically pounced, snatching the short stick in one swift motion. "Dad, I got the short stick, I'll be the one to marry." My father's face instantly darkened, and he scolded in a low voice, "Marry what? I haven't even explained the rules clearly yet. Who told you to draw?" "That's right, Xiaoxue. Hand over the stick, wait for your dad to explain the rules," my mother chimed in, stepping forward to pull Zhao Anxue back. Watching my parents singing in harmony, my heart gradually grew cold. In my previous life, I wanted to draw first, but my parents scolded me, saying that as the older sister, I should let my younger sister draw. My younger sister gleefully picked the long stick and went off to school with her backpack, while my backpack was thrown into the stove by my parents, who told me to give up on studying and focus on getting married at home. This was the agreed upon rule, and I thought drawing the long stick was fate. Even if I had to marry a disabled husband, I could only accept my fate. But in my previous life, after my husband's leg was cured and he became a successful entrepreneur, and I became a wealthy wife as a result, I finally realized that this seemingly fair lottery had never been fair at all. My sister told me on the cliff that our parents had spoken with her the night before, and the long stick would be placed on the right side during the lottery the next day. As long as you make sure your sister is the first to draw the lot, then what kind of life she will have is entirely in her hands. I can't forget my sister, disheveled and hiding from Dad at the time, her eyes filled with hatred as she looked at me, telling me the cruelest truth. She didn't listen to my explanation and pushed me off the cliff in anger. The life you have now is all because I let you have it. It's just asking you to give me 50,000 to help me pay off my debt. Why can't you do it, Zhao Anmin? You're so selfish, you should just die. Before falling, I grabbed my sister's hand. Since she said I was selfish, then if we're going to die, we should die together. I just didn't expect that we would both get a chance to start over. No need to draw lots anymore. Mom and Dad, sister has good grades, so let her go to school. I'll be the one to get married, Zhao Anshua declared with righteous determination. Mom and Dad still wanted to stop her, but my sister had already thrown her school bag into the stove. Xiaoxue, what are you doing? Have you gone mad? Mom rushed to save it, but even though she pulled it out as fast as she could, half the school bag was already burned. Mom, I'm not crazy, let me go get married. Believe me, I'll definitely become a wealthy lady in the future. My sister grabbed Mom's hand. Mom's face turned grim. She was so angry she wanted to slap my sister and shouted, "What wealthy lady? Sun Yulei isn't just disabled, he also has a 5-year-old son at home. Marrying him would be like jumping into a pit of fire." Look, they clearly knew everything, yet in my previous life they still forced me to marry into that family. Mom, what do you mean by a fire pit? Marrying into the Sun family only brings benefits. My sister wouldn't listen at all. Instead, she took my mother's hand to comfort her. If I marry into the family now, Dad can get into the state-owned factory. There's also 1,000 yuan betrothal gift. And Grandma can get treatment too. Sun Yulei isn't some disabled person, he's our family's lucky star. Of course, my parents knew this, otherwise, they wouldn't have had us twins draw lots for it, but they favored my sister, planning for me to get married while she continued her studies. Surnamed Zhao, have always been fair. You two sisters must draw lots to decide. Dad snatched the lot back from my sister's hand and roared, "Dad!" My sister bit her lip and called out unwillingly, "Draw lots." Dad held the stick up in front of us. Long stick means study, short stick means marriage. Xiaoman, you draw. My dad was clearly so angry he was confused. The stick he snatched back spun several times in his hand. I couldn't help but breathe faster. This isn't just drawing a lot, it's drawing fate. Will Dad place the long stick on the right, just like in my past life? Zhao Anmin, don't compete with me, you draw from the right and go study. My sister whispered to me through gritted teeth. I glance at her. Her eyes are filled with urgency, but Dad has always been authoritative at home. Even though Zhao Anshue is the most favored daughter in the family, she wouldn't dare to defy him now. If I were to draw the marriage lot again, given our parents' personalities, even if Zhao Anshue had 100 reasons to object, she would still be forced to go to school. In my previous life, I could only passively accept my fate, but this time, the initiative is in my hands, left and right, two completely different lives. My breathing grew rapid. My sister was also frantic with worry. Hurry up, my dad urged me. When I reached for the right slip, my dad visibly let out a sigh of relief. My hand paused, and without hesitation, I pulled out the left slip. My dad frowned, his hand involuntarily clenching. If I'm not mistaken, the one I drew is the long stick. Even if Dad wanted to rig it, he wouldn't have the chance now. Ah, Zhao Anmin, you're going to die. Who told you to take the one on the left? My sister screamed in anger, rushing over to attack me, but I calmly showed her the length of my stick. Zhao Anshue was originally furious enough to explode, but when she saw that the stick left in Dad's hand was the short one, her anger vanished completely, replaced by a face full of smiles. She snatched the short slip from Dad's hand. Mom, Dad, this marriage was decided by drawing lots. You can't go back on your word now. This is fate. Mom and Dad's faces darkened with anger, and in the end, they stormed back into their room. clearly wanting nothing more to do with us. Sister, it's settled then, you go to school, and I'll get married, you can't back out, my younger sister warned me sternly. Don't worry, no one's going to fight you for a cripple, I said, smiling as I watched my sister's school bag, which I had tossed back into the stove, burn fiercely. What do you mean, disabled, Zhao Anmin, you're just sour grapes, my sister angrily shouted. A cripple like that, I wouldn't take him even if he were given to me for free. Who's sour grapes here? Thinking of Sun Yulei, I couldn't help but feel disgusted. That's because you don't know about his future achievements. If you did, you'd envy my good fortune too, my sister said smugly, lifting her chin. I looked at my sister as if she were a fool. She was even more satisfied when she saw my expression. In her previous life, she had felt the same satisfaction when she was able to attend school. She said I would have to marry a disabled man, while she could go to college, get a job assignment, and have a bright future, whereas I would only end up as a worn-out housewife. Back then, I cried in anger and begged my parents, insisting there must be another way to save Grandma and that Dad would find another way to get into the state-owned factory. That night, my father grabbed the fire tongs from the stove and gave me a severe beating. He said I was being unreasonable, with Grandma so seriously ill. How could we afford to delay? The Sun family was such a good match. If I married into it, I wouldn't even have to bear a son myself. There was already a 5-year-old child ready-made. It was a life of comfort. He had found me a good path, yet I showed no gratitude. But today, when my younger sister is about to choose a husband, they call it a pit of fire. I must study hard and get into university to completely change my fate. Seeing me reciting my lessons while heating bathwater, my sister smugly nudged me aside with her hip and proudly left the kitchen. What's the use of studying? Marrying a good man is the real way out. That night, my parents had a big argument with my sister, scolding her for being unreasonable, not thinking about their own future, while my sister raged like a madwoman. You're just favoring my sister. You tricked me into thinking studying was the way out, while letting my sister marry and enjoy a life of luxury. Mom, Dad, all the kindness you showed me before was just an act, wasn't it? You gave me a few small favors to make me grateful to you, but in reality, all the truly good things you gave to my sister. I listened from the West Room, silently shaking my head. Even after being reborn, my sister's foolish mind hasn't changed a bit. Not only did she fail to realize that I was also reborn, but she even accused our parents of scheming for her. Despite all their efforts, it seems I'm not the only one in this family who feels disheartened. The next day, I returned to the classroom, with only 3 months left until the college entrance exam, and having spent my previous life toiling at home, though I had always longed to study, it would still take time to reacquaint myself with the knowledge from 10 years ago. I greedily absorbed the knowledge from the textbooks, and at noon, I only ate 2 steamed buns with pickles. Even when going to the bathroom, I was memorizing the English words I had written on the back of my hand. Studying is my only chance, and I will put in my utmost effort to absolutely change my fate. After school in the evening, I was still at my seat frantically solving a math problem when someone tugged on my braid. Zhao Anmin, where's your sister? Why didn't she come to school today? Without looking up, I continued working on the problem and casually replied, she's getting married and is at home preparing her dowry. She won't be coming to school anymore. What? How could she get married? The voice beside me rose several octaves, even angrily threatening to flip my table. Only then did I snap out of it and look at him. This was Wang Zhen. He was also my brother-in-law in my previous life. I don't know when these two got together, but in my previous life, like my sister, he didn't get into college. At that time, I took all my savings to persuade my sister to repeat her studies. Only through education is there hope. This was an era when jobs were assigned by the state, but at that time, Wang Zhen snatched the money from my hand, his face full of disdain. What's so good about a fixed salary? Let's go south to start a business, do some trading, and become big bosses, buying cars. I remember my sister's eyes shining brightly at the time, telling me not to stand in the way of their fortune. In just 3 years, my sister had borrowed from every relative she could, and my father's salary was advanced again and again, yet it still couldn't fill the hole my sister had dug. She and Wang Zhen hid and dodged from place to place, eventually becoming debt-ridden deadbeats. It wasn't until Sun Yulei's legs were healed and he became a successful entrepreneur, and I moved into the villa with him, that the two of them finally found me. They said they owed 50,000 outside and asked me to help repay it. This was the 1980s, when there were only a handful of households with 10,000 yuan, and they were asking for 50,000 in one go. Where would I get that much money? They insisted that since I lived in a big house and bought a car, I must be rich, and if I didn't give them money, it meant I didn't care about sisterhood and had no conscience. Remembering how he had put me on a moral high ground and judged me in my past life, I distanced myself from Wang Zhen. This is my sister's own decision, and even our parents can't do anything about it. After hearing my words, Wang Zhen cursed and turned to leave. I finished solving the problem before leisurely packing my things and heading home. The house was already piled high with many things, and my sister was counting them one by one, muttering about what was still missing. She was clearly a happy bride-to-be. In my previous life, I didn't have so much dowry, just 2 quilts and that was it, so much so that after I entered the Sun family's household, I was criticized by the neighbors for a long time. The favoritism has always been obvious. I took a deep breath. Thankfully, I now have the opportunity to study and can take control of my own destiny. I wanted to go back to my room to continue reviewing the questions, but my sister suddenly grabbed my hand. Sis, come help me pick out something. What do you think of my wedding outfit? It's the latest trend in red suits, and we bought it from a big department store. It's a brand name. Does it make me look like a powerful businesswoman, a tycoon? My sister was visibly delighted. Her intention to show off was quite obvious. After all, when I got married in my previous life, my family didn't buy such an expensive suit. We just picked up a red sweater from a street vendor. My parents said the family was struggling, and Grandma needed medical treatment, so they asked me to understand them. But why is it completely different when it comes to my sister, right? I nodded, not dwelling on these negative emotions. Having died once, I know all too well the importance of taking control of everything. After saying that, I went into my room to continue studying. Study, study, study. Even if you read all the books to tatters, you still won't compare to me marrying a good husband. My sister followed me in, taunting me relentlessly. I ignored her. Bookworm. She found it boring on her own and didn't chase after me anymore, humming a little tune as she went to pack her dowry at night. I was the only one left there doing practice problems. Then, there was an extra sound in the courtyard. My parents had already gone to sleep. Where did that noise come from? I became cautious. Just as I was about to go out to check, I heard my sister scream, "Mom, Dad, there's a thief in the house." The other person was shouting, "I'm not." Before they could finish their sentence, my sister, along with my parents, had already chased them out, beating them as they scrambled away. "Xiaoxue, why didn't you catch him? We should have sent that thief to the village committee." My mother was so anxious that she kept slapping her thigh. "Mom, the day after tomorrow is my big day. It's better not to let any bad news spread." My sister held on to my mother. My father spat on the side. "I went all out this time. If he dares to come again, I'll break both his legs," making him walk in and crawl out. My home returned to peace, and I went back to studying. The next day, Wang Zhen didn't come to school, and I didn't pay much attention. I was frantically solving problems, as if my life depended on it. As I started learning again, I felt like a sponge that had been dried out for too long, finally seizing the chance to greedily absorb knowledge from the textbooks as if my life depended on it. My younger sister got married soon after. As her older sister, I took a day off to see her off on her wedding day. The Sun family came over with beaming smiles to welcome the bride. Sun Yulei arrived in a homemade wheelchair. The sister who had been despised to death in the previous life was now filled with happiness and even took the initiative to push Sun Yulei's wheelchair. In the crowd, the Sun family's 5-year-old son, Sun Huowang, also joined in the commotion, shouting, "The new mommy is here, the new mommy is here." I shuddered. The fear of being dominated by this little demon in my past life surging back. I quickly followed to the kitchen to help. This family of enablers, I finally don't have to face them anymore. Less than 3 months after my sister's wedding, I took the college entrance exam. The moment I walked out of the exam hall, I felt a bit dazed. After discussing the estimated score with the teacher, I practically floated home. My younger sister had also returned home. She was sobbing uncontrollably, with bruises on her arms and face. I knew exactly what had happened to her at a single glance. When my sister saw me, she immediately stood up, using her sleeve to cover the bruises on her arm. "You must have done terribly on the exam. No need to wait for the results. I'll ask Mom and Dad to pull some strings and get you into the sewing factory." "No, I won't go. The results aren't out yet. How do you know I did poorly?" I flatly refused, but my sister suddenly screamed, "What else can you do if you don't go to the sewing factory? Let me tell you, don't even think about going south to work. If you come back with a pile of debt, no one will help you pay it off." I sneered coldly. "I won't go south to work. My grades have always been the top in the entire school. Now that the exams are over, the principal has already hired me to tutor his nephew for 5 yuan a day." "What, 5 yuan a day. My father was the first to slam the table. My mother, who had been comforting my sister, now trembled along with her. Your father's monthly salary is only 60 yuan, and you can earn 5 yuan a day now. Impossible, my sister screamed, clutching her head. Zhao Anmin, you're lying, aren't you? How could you possibly earn 5 yuan a day? My sister's voice was almost cracking, but I ignored the shock of the entire family. I came back just to pack my things. I'm letting you know that I'll be staying at the principal's house starting tomorrow. I turned around to pack my clothes. My sister snatched them and threw them on the floor. Her eyes were red as she glared at me. Don't think you're so great just because you can be a tutor. My future husband is going to be a big entrepreneur, will be the first in the village to build a villa and buy a car. I looked at her, completely unfazed. What does that have to do with me? Yeah, how she's doing. What does it have to do with me? Conversely, how I'm doing. What does it have to do with her? My sister was so angry that her chest kept heaving up and down. Just as our parents were about to come over to talk to us, my sister pushed them aside and ran back to her in-laws' house. Your sister has been having a tough time lately, so try to understand her. My mom kept chattering away, defending my sister, but her words went in one ear and out the other. I simply told them about my summer plans. Fine, you've grown up, your wings have hardened, and you have your own ideas now. We can't control you anymore. My dad took a puff of his cigarette, then turned his back to me. I knew he was waiting for me to show weakness, waiting for me to admit I was wrong, but in my past life, I had already lived according to their wishes for a lifetime, and it cost me my life. In this life, I owe them nothing. I packed my things and moved into the principal's house that very night. The principal's nephew is currently in middle school. At a critical moment preparing for the high school entrance exams, I taught with great dedication. Besides teaching him, I continued my own studies, writing and drawing. The principal's home had many comprehensive books, but it lacked a certain type of teaching aid. I remember that after the Sun family's sons started studying, teaching aids gradually became popular. In the following years, there were even top student notes for sale. I have organized all the knowledge points. I summarized and categorized them by classification. This process of organization took over a month. 3 days after I finished organizing, my admission letter arrived. I was admitted to Peking University. The principal personally delivered the admission letter to me. When he saw me, he excitedly patted me on the back, saying I was a promising student and that he knew I could do it. Holding the Peking University admission letter, I cried and laughed at the same time. This is my destiny. This is the life I should have. Go home today. Share the good news with your family. Tomorrow, our school will set off fireworks and put up banners to celebrate, the principal said happily, giving me the day off directly. I've come home, but I mentioned the notice to the principal, and it's been left at his place. This thing is so important that I must keep it in an absolutely safe place. It wasn't until I got home that I found out my sister had already been back for 3 days. Seeing me return empty-handed, her face immediately fell. Didn't you say you could earn $5 a day? How come you came back with nothing but yourself? Looking at the bruises on her face, I couldn't help but feel a bit of pity. If things aren't going well, just get a divorce. There's no need to throw your whole life away. Zhao Anmin, did you fail the exam yourself and now you're trying to take my husband, aren't you? Have you been reborn too? Are you trying to steal my good life again? Hearing my words, my sister immediately exploded. She called me by my full name, pointing her finger at my forehead. The fierce look in her eyes was exactly the same as the one I saw on the cliff before I died. I have no doubt that if I admitted I was also reborn right now, she would absolutely take a knife and kill me. What kind of beast? I've never seen it before. Also, I only went to your husband's house once for your wedding. Don't pin that shit on me. A cripple like your husband is only a treasure in your eyes. After my 2 consecutive remarks, Zhao Anshue's face turned as if she had swallowed a fly, growing increasingly unpleasant. I shouldn't have let my pity get the better of me and advised her to get a divorce. Some people deserve the suffering they endure. I pulled the door open with satisfaction, ready to go find my parents, but unexpectedly locked eyes with the person in the wheelchair. Sun Yulei was right outside the door, and I have no idea how long he's been listening. He stared at me, his gaze filled with curiosity. My sister, Zhao Anshue, was so frightened that she yanked me backward with such force that my back slammed into the cabinet, making me gasp in pain. Before I could even ask her what she was going crazy about, she was already glaring at me with a warning in her eyes, pushing Sun Yulei out the door herself. Honey, you came to pick me up, didn't you? Let's go home and live a good life. I promise I won't argue with you anymore, and I'll treat Huowang as if he were my own son. I know it was an accident, and I promise I'll never lose my temper with you again." Zhao Anshua nervously rambled on. Quickly making her stance clear, her demeanor made it seem as though she was afraid I would snatch Sun Yulei away from her, a worthless, insecure, and furious man. Only Zhao Anshua would treat him like a treasure. I shook my head. When someone is determined to court death, nothing an outsider says can help. "Xiaoxue, have a meal before you leave," my parents quickly called out to Zhao Anshua, but she only walked faster. "Mom, Dad, I have things to take care of at home. I'll come back to see you next time." The voice came from afar, and in the time it took to say 2 sentences, Zhao Anshua had already swiftly walked outside the courtyard. "Anmin, you're finally back." My mother, seeing me as she entered the door, quickly put down her bowl and came to pull me aside. "Ever since your sister married Sun Yulei, she's been beaten every single day. Hurry and go talk some sense into her. If she can't go on like this, she should just end it. No matter how important one's future is, it can't be more important than life itself." My mother's face was full of worry, and a few more strands of white hair had appeared at her temples. "I truly feel sorry for my sister, but in my past life, when I couldn't bear the beatings anymore and went home for help." My parents' faces instantly darkened. They pointed at me and scolded. "How many people in the surrounding villages get divorced? If you get divorced, what will happen to the reputation of our Zhao family? Which couple doesn't fight at the head of the bed and make up at the foot? Besides, I just received the Sun family's 1,000 yuan betrothal gift. Do you want your parents to be criticized to death by others?" The face flushed with anger and the one now filled with worry overlapped, making me unconsciously ask, "What about the betrothal gift from the Sun family? Is the betrothal gift more important than life? Did you not see the injuries on your sister? They're all bruised and purple. My heart aches just looking at them," my mother said, unable to help but pound her chest. My dad took a couple of puffs from his pipe and said to me, "Your grandma's illness cost 200, you're making $5 a day now, right? Help your sister pay it back." I couldn't believe it and couldn't help raising my voice. "That's my money." "What do you mean your money? For the past 18 years, every bit of your food, drink, and expenses came from the family." My dad tapped the table with his pipe, his tone and movements full of warning. My mom's face, which had been full of worry just moments before, was now covered in anger. "You've only been earning money for a month, and you've already forgotten who you are, haven't you? That's my money, my tuition for college. I can't use it to bail Zhao Anshua out," I said firmly. My father was so angry he almost smashed the table. "You've completely lost your mind. If you don't help your sister, you can forget about going to college. You don't even know if you pass the exam. Yet you talk about college so confidently." My mother sneered from behind my father. "These are my parents. In my previous life, Zhao Anshua didn't even get into a vocational college, and they only felt sorry for her because she had lost weight from staying up late to study. They even gave her 50 yuan, telling her to have some fun before going to work." Without waiting for my response, my mother directly came over and searched my pockets. Fortunately, I hadn't brought my salary home. Instead, I had left it with the admission letter at the principal's house. My mother found nothing, and her expression grew increasingly unpleasant. "Where's your salary? Hand it over." "I won't, that's my money." I shook my head. I knew my family wouldn't give me any money, so I was counting on using the earnings from my summer tutoring as capital for my future business venture. If I gave it to my parents, I would miss the trend and lose many opportunities. Starting over, I want to completely change my fate, become a wealthy woman myself, rather than please my parents and seek that barely visible affection. Unable to find the money, my parents angrily locked me in the room. They made it very clear, if I don't come up with the money now to help my sister get a divorce and save her from this pit of fire, they'll just lock me in the house and I won't even be able to go to this tutoring class anymore. Still thinking about studying? Even if you do get accepted, I won't let you have the admission letter." My mother glared at me. There was hatred in her eyes. Having lived through this once before, how could I not understand? All of this was likely my sister's doing. Even if she gave me the chance to study, she doesn't want me to actually pass the exam either. If I do pass, my parents will find an excuse to prevent me from receiving the admission notice. She wants me to rot in this village, waiting to see her rise to glory 3 years from now. My sister, even if given another chance to choose the path she most desires, still fears that I might find another way out. However, it probably won't go as they wish. With no food or drink, I simply went to sleep in the room. "You won't die in one night." The next day, I was awakened by the sound of firecrackers outside. Outside the door, the village chief's voice rang out, "Where's Xiaomin? Hurry and get her out here. She got into Peking University." What? My mother's voice rose. Incredulous, I followed up, village chief, that's not a joke to make. If Xiaomin gets into Peking University, it would be like our Zhao family's ancestors' graves smoking with good fortune. Indeed, it's like smoke rising. Hurry and call the prospective college student out. Old Zhao, how did you teach Xiaomin? Could you share your methods with us? Yes, this is a university. Not only does the state cover all education costs, so you don't have to pay tuition yourself, but there's also a stipend. I hear it's around 10 to 20 yuan. You're truly blessed, having a daughter who can earn money for you while she's studying. The neighbors in the village chattered away, and even through the thick door, I could clearly feel their overwhelming envy. When everyone had spoken their piece, I pounded on the door from inside the room. Uncle Village Chief, please save me. My parents won't let me go to school. They won't give me food or water. They're trying to lock me in here to die. Don't listen to this girl's nonsense. My mother shrieked, trying to drown out my cries for help with her own voice, but inside, I was frantically pulling at the door, causing the lock to rattle violently. The sound of metal clashing was particularly clear in the courtyard. This noise startled the villagers. My parents wanted to stop me, and they even tried to make excuses, but yesterday, just as they were about to lock me up, I was already trying to escape through the window. To control me, they nailed the windows shut with wooden planks and locked the door from the outside. Now, without the key, it can't be opened. My mother could only listen to the rattling sound of the lock as she went back to her room to find the key. The villagers understood immediately and began lecturing my father. Old Zhao, you're being foolish. This is Peking University, the first one from our village. College graduates are guaranteed job assignments. She absolutely must continue her studies. The sound of scolding came from outside. My mother also brought the key, and the door was opened from the outside. I had been locked up all night without food or water, and there was no place to use the bathroom in the room. Everyone could smell the odor and knew I wasn't lying. Old Zhao, what are you trying to achieve? The village chief asked, his hands trembling. My dad simply couldn't answer. After all, he couldn't possibly say that he was influenced by his younger daughter, believing that I wouldn't get into college, would later run around everywhere, rack up debts, and become a burden to the family. Could he? My mom laughed it off, saying, it's all a misunderstanding, Old Zhao, and I just wanted to temper Xiao Min's character a bit. Aunt Zhang, ever since she was little, Xiao Min has been taking care of Xiao Shui, cutting grass to feed the pigs, working in the fields, and gathering firewood in the mountains. Which of these things hasn't she done willingly? What kind of character does such a sensible girl need to be tempered? Aunt Zhang spoke her mind bluntly. After saying that, she was pulled aside by someone else. This is our family matter, and it's clearly not appropriate to dig to the bottom of it. In front of everyone, why are you pulling me? Did I say something wrong? Aunt Zhang shouted. The village chief quickly had someone beat the gongs and drums, congratulating my parents. I was surrounded by everyone. However, my lips were so dry they were peeling, and my stomach was growling with hunger. Uncle Village Chief, I want some water and something to eat. The village chief scowled and told everyone to go home, saying they could come back tomorrow to watch the commotion. My mother brought me water and food. I wolfed it down, looking as if I were starving. The village chief sat across the table, watching me. After the neighbors left, my parents quickly pulled the village chief aside. Village chief, Xiaomin got into Peking University, bringing honor to our village. Could you help my family with something? The village chief looked at me, who was wolfing down my food, thought for a moment, and nodded. Sure, he was the village chief. If a college student emerged under his watch and later got assigned a job, it would reflect well on him too. Helping my family meant we would owe him a favor. In the future, no matter what, he could always come to me to collect it. The village chief was calculating. My parents, having received permission, eagerly spoke up. Please write a proof of emotional breakdown for our Xiao Xue, so she can divorce Sun Yulei. In this era, getting a divorce wasn't that easy. You needed proof from your workplace or the neighborhood committee. Even though I had been admitted to Peking University, my parents' hearts were still fixated on my sister. They truly felt sorry for their sister. The village chief had also heard about the situation between my sister and Sun Yulei. After all, my sister often came home with bruises and injuries, so what was happening was quite obvious. Fine, the village chief agreed. Then write it now. I'll go get paper and pen, my mother said excitedly, about to run into the house. No way, my sister screamed, rushing in from outside the courtyard. She must have heard the commotion at home and hurried over. Still catching her breath, I'm not sure how much she heard, but upon seeing me sitting there, head down and eating, She snatched the bowl from my hands and smashed it to the ground. Zhao Anmin, did you fail to get into college and now you're scheming to break up me and Sun Yulei so you can take my place? Is that it? She poked my forehead with her finger, her voice so loud it felt like it would pierce my eardrums. I knew you'd cause trouble today. Good thing I came back quickly. You even invited the village chief. You're dead set on competing with me. I'm telling you, no way. My sister was like a madwoman, her dark, sunken eyes fixed on me. I wish I could tear you to pieces right now. Even her parents, whom she used to love, now carry a sense of hatred. I always knew you were biased. You kept urging me to get a divorce, saying it was for my own good, but in reality, you just wanted Zhao Anmin to become a wealthy wife. My sister was hysterical. My parents looked utterly incredulous. They had doted on their youngest daughter since she was a child. Their hearts were even more biased, yet they earnestly considered their younger daughter's well-being, going so far as to lock me, their daughter who had attended Peking University, at home for her sake. In the end, they were resented by the very daughter they had spoiled. Zhao Anxue, you're the only one in this family who acts like a rabid dog, always eager to eat shit. I got into Peking University, the village chief originally came to our house to deliver the good news, but Mom and Dad felt sorry for you and insisted on asking him to write you a divorce certificate, I said coldly. My sister froze, her previously frantic movements coming to a halt as she stood there in a daze. She muttered softly, how could you get into university? Weren't you supposed to have an early romance with Wang Zhen and end up not even getting into a junior college? How did you get into Peking University? What early romance? Xiaoxue, you're married and not in school anymore, so don't talk nonsense, the village chief said, his expression immediately turning stern. I am the first student from our village to attend Peking University. He needs to protect my reputation to promote himself, so he immediately retorted loudly, everyone has seen how diligent Xiaoman is at school. Even the principal hired Xiaoman to tutor his own nephew, which is enough proof of Xiaoman's ability. My mother also went to pull Zhao Anxue. Although my sister's behavior had just hurt her, my sister is, after all, the daughter she cares about the most. My sister's current mental state also pains my mother, not to mention that my sister also has injuries on her face. That scratch looks like it was made by a child. It must have been the Sun family's demon pill that did it. After all, Sun Yulei cares about his reputation. No matter how much he hits, he wouldn't strike such an obvious place on the face. Xiaoxue, your sister really got into Peking University. Nowadays, universities are all state-run. Not only is tuition free, but they also guarantee job assignments after graduation. Don't be afraid, even if we break ties with the Sun family, they can't do anything to you. My mother comforted me carefully. My sister, however, was severely provoked and completely lost her temper. She shook off my mother's hand and directly overturned the dining table in the yard. The dishes and cups on it clattered and shattered all over the ground. My parents, the village chief, and I didn't have time to dodge, and we were all hit by ceramic shards to some extent. You're insane. My father couldn't hold back any longer, his face turning grim. He was now itching to hit my sister on the head with his tobacco pipe. Before, when my sister would cry and make a fuss at home, he didn't say much, but now, with the village chief present and such a scene unfolding, my father felt his pride had been wounded. But my sister didn't care. In the past, whenever she saw even the slightest change in my father's expression, she would immediately go over to coax and flatter him. Today, however, she had been driven to madness and continued to curse without a second thought. Zhao Anmin, you're lying. You're all in on this together, trying to make me doubt the path I've chosen again, aren't you? I'm telling you, I won't fall for it. No matter what tricks you use, I will never get a divorce. Don't even think about ruining my good life. Fine, if you don't want a divorce, then don't come back here complaining in the future. My father finally couldn't hold back and tapped my sister on the head with his tobacco pipe. Dad, my sister's eyes widened in shock. My father's face completely darkened. They had been wholeheartedly thinking of my sister. Every grievance she brought home these days, they saw and remembered, always looking for an opportunity to help her resolve them. But today, my sister's behavior undoubtedly proved who the real ungrateful person was. My father was completely disappointed in my sister. Old Xiaoxue is still young, don't be so harsh. My mom tugged at my dad, trying to play the peacemaker, but my dad shook her off fiercely, shouting angrily, if you keep pleading for her, you can get out too. Fine, you think I care about coming home? When I become a wealthy lady, you'll be the ones begging me. Zhao Anxue was even angrier than our parents. She kicked the table on the floor, cursing as she walked away. in the future, even if you beg me, I won't come back." Zhao Anshua truly did as she said. From that day on, she no longer came home every few days to complain. Her attitude made it seem like she was really waiting for our family to go and beg her. After setting off fireworks at school to celebrate my acceptance into Peking University, my parents apologized to me, admitting they were wrong for forcing me to help my sister. My father even gave me 100 yuan, saying it was for my travel expenses to the north, and the rest was for me to treat myself better while away from home. Now, 100 yuan is almost 2 months' worth of my dad's salary. This is the guilt in their hearts, and it's also the most practical and feasible way they can think of to make amends. I didn't refuse. Money is crucial in the early stages of starting a business. This is my family, and I'll need to support them in their old age later on. Giving a little investment now is only right. One should not be too hard on oneself. All available resources should be utilized reasonably. Ever since I got into Peking University, my home has suddenly become a lively place. People from several neighboring villages have come to my house, hoping to hire me as a tutor to properly teach their children. After all, getting into university means guaranteed job assignments in the future, which is an absolute golden opportunity for everyone. Unfortunately, I had already made an agreement with the principal to tutor his nephew for 2 months. Even so, whenever I went out, I would still run into many people who wanted me to spare even just an hour for their children. Some even went as far as giving gifts to the principal, hoping to send their own children to his home so I could teach them all together. The principal flatly refused. However, the teaching materials I compiled were published under the principal's arrangement, along with the top students' notes and error correction books. After publication, these teaching materials quickly sold out. After all, who wouldn't want to get into university and secure a job assignment? My parents were overjoyed when they found out I had published a book. Before I left for school, they even specially slaughtered a chicken to see me off. You have to understand that poultry was particularly precious at that time, and they would only reluctantly kill one during the new year. While preparing the meal, my mother deliberately chopped off 2 large chicken legs. During the meal, both chicken legs were placed in my bowl, and this was the first time in my life I had ever eaten chicken legs. These are treatments I never had in my previous life. I don't know how to act cute and please others like my sister does, but after gaining strength, everything I once longed for but couldn't reach is now easily within my grasp. But once you have it, it's just like that, the charm fades. The next day, I boarded a train heading north. I didn't tell my parents that I had earned nearly 3,000 yuan from publishing a book, and I also asked the principal to keep it a secret for me. So when I set off to report to school, I had over 3,000 yuan on me. In this era, that was a huge sum of money. After reporting, I immediately went to ask about the prices of courtyard houses nearby. In this era, a traditional courtyard house can be bought for just 8,000 yuan. I calculated the money I had on hand, checked the class schedule, and immediately decided to stock up on some small accessories and cosmetics. These items are also very popular in this era, and they take up less space than clothes, making them perfect for someone like me who lives in a school dormitory. Moreover, with memories from my past life, I know which accessories will become wildly popular in the coming years, greatly improving my selling efficiency. In my first month at Peking University, I made 1,000 yuan by setting up a stall. My savings have reached 4,000 now. The older sister who often helps me secure a spot at the market looks at me with envy. "Young lady, you have such a great eye for goods. Every time you stock up, the items are so beautiful that even I can't resist wanting to buy them." I smiled but said nothing. "There's someone at the end of the street who always comes to see what kind of goods you're stocking. She's learned to sell the same things and has made quite a bit of money. If you could set up your stall all day, you'd probably earn even more than you do now. If only I had your eye for business, I could make a lot more money." She was just chatting with me casually, but suddenly I thought of a business opportunity. I don't have that much time to come and set up a stall, but I could help the older sister with sourcing goods. I can't keep a lot of clothes in the dorm, but my older sister already sells clothes at a stall, so she can. I immediately discussed with my older sister. I would help her source the goods, and she would sell them, with profit split 30-70, I get 30%, she gets 70%, and the investment cost is also shared according to this ratio. My older sister agreed without hesitation. Although we had been setting up stalls together for a month and I knew her character, I still drafted a contract and signed it with her very seriously, and I made every clause clear. I gained an additional source of income. Moreover, because people knew I had a good eye, others came to me for help with sourcing goods. Since I didn't know their character, some paid me a one-time fee to source goods together, so I started running around sourcing goods, and for my original jewelry stall, I asked my older sister to hire someone to help me watch it. Every day, aside from attending classes, I went out to help people source goods. By the end of the semester, I had earned over 10,000, enough to buy a decent courtyard house. At that time, I didn't hesitate. As soon as I had enough money, I went and bought it. After all, courtyard houses are cheap now, but in a few years, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say their prices will skyrocket. During winter break, I went home for the new year. On the bus back to the village, I ran into my sister, whom I hadn't seen in almost half a year. She held Sun Huang's hand, with a clear burn scar on her right cheek. I couldn't help but gasp. I remembered, in the first year of my marriage, Sun Huang once threw a tantrum and deliberately splashed boiling water in my direction. I quickly blocked it with the pot lid, but the boiling water splashed onto the top of my foot, causing many blisters from the burn. Even so, I still had to take care of the entire Sun family. Meeting my gaze, my sister spoke up as if shocked. "What are you looking at? When I have money, I can get a skin graft and have plastic surgery. I've long grown tired of this face that looks exactly like yours. Just wait, give it 2 more years, and I'll be 100 times more beautiful than you by then." I sighed. After all, we were twin sisters, so I felt I should offer some advice. "It's been a year already. Can't you see it yet? Sun Yulei will never recover in this lifetime. Stop dreaming about becoming a wealthy lady." "Zhao Anmin, don't you dare curse me," my sister screamed in anger. Even though she had already sensed the truth, she couldn't accept it and still clung to that slim chance. But what if it never comes? Just by waiting. On the back seat of my sister's bike, Sun Yulei suddenly leaned out like a ghost. His sinister eyes were fixed on me. I was so startled that I immediately stood up and started to move forward. "I don't want to sit in the back row anymore." But my hand was tightly gripped by Sun Yulei, who pulled me back and asked me like a demon, "Why is it your sister who married over this time? It should have been you marrying me, taking care of my legs, and finding the opportunity to start a business and open a company." I was startled, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break free from Sun Yulei's grip. He stared at me fiercely, his entire demeanor overlapping with that of the Sun Yulei who controlled me in my past life. That suffocation and fear made me tremble uncontrollably. The curious glances around me made me realize that I was on a bus, a college student who had just returned from vacation, not the housewife from my past life. I immediately cried out, "Help, there's a pervert." While crying out, I fiercely kicked Sun Yulei's good leg. He actually dares to remember things from his past life. Making me work like a beast for a lifetime wasn't enough. Now he wants me to become the Sun family's beast of burden all over again. He must be dreaming. Someone on the bus heard me shouting and saw Sun Yulei's actions, immediately getting up to help me. "What are you doing, you crippled bastard? Who gave you the right to lay hands on a young girl? She's my wife." Sun Yulei still tried to pull me. Hearing this, I felt as if I had swallowed a fly alive, utterly disgusted. "Who's your wife? Don't you dare slander me." "That's right, I know this girl. Isn't she the one who got into Peking University this summer? She's a college student now. What makes you think she'd be interested in a cripple like you?" This bus was heading back to our village, so there were quite a few familiar faces on board. Sun Yulei hated the word cripple more than anything in his life. He stiffened his neck and argued, "She is my wife. In my past life, she was the one who married me." Past life, I could say I married the Queen Mother of the West in my past life. A middle-aged man chuckled. His remark made everyone in the bus burst into laughter. Someone recognized Sun Yulei and immediately pointed at Zhao Anxue, who was sitting dazed in the front seat. "This is your wife. You can't mistake your wife just because they're twins. Besides, didn't your son leave a mark on your wife's face? You're not trying to get rid of your wife and replace her, are you?" Everyone chattered away. Sometimes, the malice of rural folk is even more straightforward. Sun Yulei was squeezed in the crowd, his face growing increasingly grim. I was pulled over by an auntie in the front seat. "Sit here, girl, let's see which hooligan dares to come near. I'll break their legs." I was being looked after by the people in the car. Meanwhile, Sun Yulei and Zhao Anxue started arguing in the back. I got the gist of it. The content was basically Sun Yulei questioning Zhao Anxue about why she married him, accusing her of stealing his chance to recover. Zhao Anxue also understood that in her previous life, the Sun family's sudden wealth actually relied on the company I had founded. The wealthy family she thought she was marrying into was actually me. She was furious and started wrestling with Sun Yulei right there in the back seat, shouting, "Cripple," and "Liar." By the time they were pulled apart, Sun Yulei was already beaten to the brink of death. I secretly watched in between, and Zhao Anxue was completely going for the kill. After all, Zhao Anxue had endured nearly a year of domestic violence. even breaking ties with her parents. All in the hope that Sun Yulei would become wealthy 3 years later. Now she can't change anymore. Her beating was completely in vain. How could she not be angry, now that her beautiful dream has shattered? Zhao Anxue wishes she could pay it back 100-fold. In her previous life, she could even bring herself to push her own sister off a cliff, so now facing a cripple who loves domestic violence, she's even more ruthless. By the time they got off the car, Sun Yulei was completely unable to stand. His good leg seemed about to be crippled as well. Villagers carried Sun Yulei to the clinic at the village entrance. Seeing his father being beaten, Sun Huang cried out beside him, calling Zhao Anxue a wicked woman. He also received 2 slaps, so forceful that they knocked out one of Sun Huang's front teeth. Keep wailing, and I'll strangle you right now. Zhao Anxue glared at him, her fierce gaze silencing the people in the front of the car who had been laughing and joking just moments before. Everyone tacitly accepted this as a family matter and fell silent. Before my sister got off the car, she shot me a venomous, hate-filled glance. I don't care what she thinks, but there's no way I'm letting these 2 lunatics know that I've also been reborn. It seems I can't just casually come back like this in the future. Even if I return home, I must avoid these 2 people. This year's New Year celebration was quite lively, because I got into Peking University. Many relatives I had never seen before suddenly appeared at home. Everyone at the dinner table wanted to invite me over to teach their children. Some even asked me to publish teaching materials. I heard that both the teaching materials and the error notebooks were sold out. There were also neighbors' children who didn't understand the error notebooks and came to ask me for advice. For the first few days, I could still manage to respond, but later on, the number of people became overwhelming. I brought some gifts and went to the principal's house. On one hand, I genuinely wanted to thank the principal for helping me publish those teaching aids and error correction books. On the other hand, I really needed a place to escape the noise. The principal was delighted to see me. His nephew got into the top elite class at our school, and the study guides and error notebooks I recommended sold so well that the publisher is planning a reprint. Coincidentally, I came back just in time, and they wanted to discuss this matter with me. At the time, I had only prepared for 2 main subjects, but they also wanted me to work on some other subjects. I've gathered all your assignments and exam papers from back then. You can work on compiling them here over this winter break, the principal said, pulling out a cardboard box. My study guides and error notebooks were all compiled according to future popular trends. People today don't know what will be popular in the future, so even if they try to imitate my style in their compilations, they always fall short. Principal, you're too kind. I was overwhelmed by the mess at home. The principal truly saved me from a dire situation. I picked up the cardboard box, looking gratefully at the principal. He met my gaze and smiled. Had someone send a message to my parents, and I stayed at the principal's place myself. I focused on compiling teaching materials and error correction notebooks. New Year's celebrations are nowhere near as important as working hard to make money. When school resumed in the spring, I had compiled new teaching materials and error correction notebooks, which I handed over to the principal. At the same time, the royalties from the reprints of the first 2 subjects, as well as the royalties from this latest batch, were all transferred to me. The principal chuckled. You're practically a little rich lady now. Have you ever thought about building a house for your family? I know the village chief meant no harm by asking that question. After all, my house is quite old, a relic from the past, but I still shook my head. There's no rush to build a new one yet. That's true, you're the only daughter left in your family. Who knows where you'll be assigned to work after graduating from university? The village chief was just making small talk, which is perfectly normal around here, but it made me fully realize the core of the issue. The jealousy in the countryside can sometimes be overwhelming. If I build a house for my family now, I'll inevitably become their financial burden in the future. And with Sun Yulei and Zhao Anxue, these 2 troublemakers around, I have no idea what they'll do now that they've been reborn with memories of their past lives. The only thing I'm certain of is that if I want to completely change the fate I had in my previous life, I absolutely cannot return to the village. After returning to school, I focused all my attention on my studies, because I realized the most important thing: the best way to stay away from toxic people is to reach a height they can never attain. I want to stay in Beijing. After studying diligently for a month, I felt completely drained. University knowledge is entirely different from high school. It's not something you can master just by putting in time. To reward myself, I found the best state-run restaurant off campus. My roommate, who was supposed to come with me, had something to attend to and would arrive later, so I went in first to order. Just as I handed the menu back to the waiter, I was interrupted by a voice full of surprise. "And Min, I never thought I'd actually run into you here. I looked up and saw Wang Zhen. Before I could answer, he had already made himself at home and sat down next to me. I instinctively moved aside. After all, I didn't want to have too much contact with anyone who had been involved with Xiao Anxue. Why don't you go into business with me? I know your school subsidy is over 10 yuan a month. Just give me 10 yuan. When I make big money, we'll go back to the village and build a big house together. Then we'll make everyone in the village envy our good life. He got straight to the point without any pleasantries. Why should I? I retorted, of course. Because we're from the same village, we're fellow villagers. Shouldn't you help me? Just then, the server brought the dishes. Without hesitation, he picked up his chopsticks and took a bite. At the same time, he waved his hand and said, "Waiter, bring 2 bottles of beer. Let's talk while we drink." I was almost driven to laughter by his utterly shameless bandit logic. He really has thick skin. Your sister said she was the one who wronged me. Since you and your sister share the same face, she wants you to make it up to me. She also gave me your address, though it wasn't very clear. I thought I'd look for a job around here first, wait for you when I had time, and try my luck. Who would have thought I'd actually manage to wait for you? Wang Zhen pulled out a note. My expression turned completely cold as I immediately ordered him to leave. Who gave her the right? Who is she to demand that I apologize to you? Wang Zhen, get out of here right now. Why should I leave? Your sister has already agreed to let me be her brother-in-law. I'm practically your fiancé now. Not only did Wang Zhen not leave, but he also moved closer to me. He even seemed ready to hold my hand. I felt as if I had swallowed a fly, never imagining that someone could have such thick skin. My sister agreed. Go find my sister. If you keep harassing me here, I can definitely call the police, I yelled, stepping away from Wang Zhen. Dealing with a shameless person like this, there's only one way left, but he still wasn't afraid and tried to move closer. And Min, we're from the same hometown. In such a big city, we should stick together and support each other. I've been living nearby for almost a month just to find you. You can't just turn your back on me like this. Without hesitation, I took action against him, a local thug. My sister was attracted to Wang Zhen's looks and sweet talk in her past life, but all I feel is disgust. However, there is still a difference in physical strength between men and women. Just as Wang Zhen was about to fight back, he was blocked by a tall man with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. What are you doing? He asked sternly. If you're harassing students from our school, I can have you handed over to the security office. Wang Zhen was almost a head shorter than him, and couldn't match his presence at all. He could only weakly give me a look. And Min, hurry up and explain. I'm the fiancé your sister found for you. What do you mean, my sister found a fiancé for me? How could such a thing happen in this world? I'm not very familiar with you either. You couldn't be a human trafficker from some remote mountain village, could you? I shouted very loudly. The onlookers around also frowned. That's right, I've heard of parents arranging a fiancé, but I've never heard of a younger sister arranging a fiancé for her older sister. A voice from the crowd immediately prompted Wang Zhen to explain. It's an introduction, not an arrangement. Then where's my sister? If she wants to set me up, why isn't she here? I pressed. Your sister is married. Of course she's living in the village. How would she have time to come to the city? Wang Zhen grew anxious. He frantically explained, but the more he explained, the more he seemed like a human trafficker. I've been seeing him hanging around here a lot lately, like he's unemployed. Look at those tattered clothes. Could he really be a kidnapper? I heard someone actually went to file a report recently, saying someone went missing. Everyone chattered away, immediately surrounding Wang Zhen, led by the person from earlier. Everyone directly took Wang Zhen as a suspicious individual to the police station on the next street. The surroundings finally returned to quiet, and I looked gratefully at the person who had helped me out of the situation. The roommate I had arranged to meet earlier hurried over. Bro, why are you with my roommate? My roommate Xiaowen asked with a face full of surprise. Is this your brother? Is this your roommate? Both of us were very surprised. My roommate pulled us to sit down and eat, introducing us to each other. The person who stood up for me is called Li Wenxuan, the older brother of my roommate, 2 years ahead of us in school. He had just completed a research project today and wanted to celebrate on his own by grabbing a meal. He was sitting at the table next to mine and witnessed the entire conversation between me and Wang Zhen. He couldn't stand it, so he came over to help me out. How did you know we're from the same school? I asked curiously. He scratched his head a bit sheepishly. Actually, I didn't know. I just said that to scare him. This restaurant is near our school, so there's a good chance the people eating here are fellow students, right? We both burst out laughing. Li Wenxuan brought the dishes to our table. The three of us had a lively meal together. This counts as getting to know each other thoroughly. He is our senior, and for many unclear knowledge points, we can actually discuss them with him. After all, with so many people in the university, it's impossible for everyone to consult the professors. By the artificial lake, in the library, these became our discussion spots. Studying even started to feel interesting. I only occasionally went out on weekends to help with restocking or to check the accounts with my older sister. Of course, I didn't tell anyone about my secret stall. Having lived a whole lifetime, I knew some things should never be revealed from the start. My roommate only knows that I come from a small town and that I have to work on weekends to help support my family. She probably thinks I'm just doing some part-time job outside. In reality, I've already bought my second courtyard house and rented a storefront, where I've set up a clothing and accessories shop for my older sister. I'm still in charge of sourcing the goods, while she handles the sales. The shop's business is so good that we're overwhelmed, so we've hired a few new employees. Now, I can be considered a hidden little rich woman. While I was studying hard, hoping to get a Beijing hookup and settle down for good, received news from home that something major had happened, and my parents asked me to come back. The letter didn't specify what exactly the big matter was. Anmin, is it that guy who harassed you last time? Could it be that your family wants to marry you off and sell you? Xiaowen loved gossiping the most. She had actually heard no fewer than 100 versions of stories about small towns often forcing their daughters to marry in exchange for high bride prices. Now, seeing my letter, she couldn't help but worry for me. Do you have a younger brother at home who's now at the age to get married? I shook my head. My family only has a pair of twin daughters. I thought this would reassure my roommate, but instead, she grew even more anxious and worried. That's bad. Families like that are most likely to buy a boy from outside or adopt one from a branch with many children. Anmin, you have to be careful when you go home. If your family asks you to do anything illegal, you absolutely must not agree, and this degree, it belongs to whoever passes the exam. It can't be given away. Xiaowen slapped her forehead and frantically explained to me. I knew she meant no harm, so I smiled and reassured her. Although my parents also favor boys over girls to some extent, they wouldn't go so far as to do something like that. Most likely, it's my sister causing trouble again. No, I still think it's quite dangerous for you to go back alone. How about finding someone to accompany you? My brother can do it. He has fewer classes now and just finished an experiment, so he has time. Xiaowen held my hand. Even though I'm the one going home, she seems more nervous than I am. Don't worry, I'll be careful. I patted Xiaowen's hand and declined her suggestion. After all, I took leave to go home and even dragged a classmate along, and it's a man at that. The gossip in the village would probably crush me. Besides, my family doesn't really have any extra space. If Li Wenxuan came back with me, there might not even be a place for him to stay. I busied myself packing my luggage, planning to ask for leave from school today and head straight to the station to buy a ticket tomorrow with my bags in hand. I still need to make a trip back home. Xiaowen kept watching me pack by the bedside, her gaze so intense it felt like it could burn a hole right through me. I couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. Good Xiaowen, I'm just going home, not venturing into some dragon's den or tiger's lair. I know, but last time, wasn't there a human trafficker in your village who claimed to be your fiancé? I'm worried about you. Xiaowen was reminded of what happened that day during the meal, chattering away. My parents won't agree. Don't worry, even in our village, Wang Zhen's family conditions are not good. In my past life, my sister ended up with Wang Zhen purely because she was willful and got tricked by his sweet talk. My parents looked down on Wang Zhen. This time around, I've been admitted to university, so my parents definitely won't let me get married so quickly. I'm quite confident about my parents on this point, but Xiaowen doesn't know my family that well and is still full of worry. As I was finishing up my packing, she couldn't hold back and blurted out, "Then you must remember to come back safely. My brother hasn't even had the chance to confess his feelings yet." My hand, which was lifting the suitcase, froze. I looked at Xiaowen, somewhat in disbelief. Her brother, confessing his feelings? I always thought we were just classmates with a good relationship. Having gone through a marriage once, I've been desperately trying to change my fate in this life, and I never even considered that possibility. Seeing me frozen in place, Xiaowen looked as if she had nothing to lose and frantically spoke to me. "Yes, Anmin, I really like you, and I want you to be my sister-in-law. My brother likes you too. Our family is originally from Beijing. My parents are university professors, and they are very open-minded. They definitely don't have any preference for sons over daughters. In the future, they won't interfere too much in your and my brother's private lives." This information hit me like a ton of bricks. leaving me dizzy and overwhelmed. The family still doesn't know what happened, and now this has come up. Good on me. Just consider my brother. I know you're excellent, but my brother isn't bad either. He can be assigned a job next year, most likely near home. I interrupted Xiao Wen. After all, it's still too early to talk about these things now. No one's confession is delivered by their sister-in-law. Did I say something wrong? Xiao Wen thought of something, now covering her mouth with a look of, how did I let it all slip out? My brother didn't want me to say it, but seeing how anxious you are to go back, I was afraid you'd be dragged down by your family, so I couldn't hold back. I know you mean well, just pretend you never said anything about this. Whatever happens between your brother and me, we'll talk about it when I get back. I comforted Xiao Wen. I took leave. It was only the next day when I went to the station that Li Wenxuan came to see me off. He carried my luggage for me. I heard you were going back, so I came to take you to the station, he said, rushing over after hearing Xiao Wen pour out everything. Last night, my feelings toward Li Wenxuan were now a bit complicated. After all, I had only thought he was there to tutor his sister, which is why the three of us often discuss questions together, but upon closer thought, before we met last semester, Li Wenxuan was hardly ever around. This semester, he suddenly started caring about his sister, which is a bit too strange, so it really is possible that Li Wenxuan has taken a liking to me. We didn't speak much along the way. When he saw me off onto the train, he looked at me seriously and said, though it might be presumptuous to say this, you must remember that my sister and I will be waiting for you at school. If anything happens, remember to write to us. If you can't handle it, I could actually buy a ticket and come help you. I accepted Li Wenxuan's kindness but waved him off. I still chose to go back on my own. As for matters of the heart, I'll think about them after I graduate from university. When I arrived in the village, as soon as I got off the bus, the village chief saw me. He hurried over. Xiao Min, you're finally back. Something big has happened at your house, and your parents are almost worried to death. What exactly is the matter? Village chief, please speak up. Don't keep us in the dark. I'm really fed up with these people at home. The letter didn't specify what happened, and now that we're at the doorstep, they're still only telling half the story. This makes it impossible for me to help the family find a solution, as I can't even figure out where to start. Your sister and her husband got into a fight, and it resulted in 2 deaths. Now your sister has been arrested, and the Sun family is blocking your house every day, demanding an explanation. The village chief pulled me towards his house and finally told me the detailed story of the incident. My sister and Sun Yulei got into a fight, and in a fit of rage, she strangled Sun Huowang to death. Then, while fighting with Sun Yulei, she struck him directly on the head with a hoe, killing him. You have no idea. Sun Yulei's brains were smashed out. When we entered, the Sun family's house was covered in brains and blood. You can't imagine how terrifying the scene was. After hearing this, I felt dizzy. Zhao Anxue committed intentional homicide. She is my twin sister. My political background check is ruined. Sure enough, when I arrived at my doorstep, Sun's parents were all gathered at my house. Seeing me approach, Sun's parents let out a howl and rushed over. You Zhao family, pay me back my son, pay me back my grandson, your sister, that heartless snake. We Sun family treated her well with good food and drink, and this is how she repays us. The village chief quickly intervened, preventing them from scratching my face. Aunt Sun, let's go inside and talk. What do you mean, go inside and talk? The Zhao family is capable of doing such a thing, and I'm not even allowed to speak about it. Mother Sun wailed bitterly. My poor son, my poor grandson, their bodies have already turned cold, and that damned Zhao Anxue actually ran away. I frowned, thinking Zhao Anxue had already been arrested. I never expected she had fled. No wonder the Sun family is now all gathered outside my door. The village chief's expression darkened as he listened, but he had no intention of letting the Sun family lay a hand on me. He called me back to solve the problem, not to let it escalate into another criminal incident. Seeing that none of us spoke, the Sun family grew even more confident, almost pointing at my forehead and shouting, it must be the Zhao family who helped hide them. I won't go in. I want everyone to see what kind of people the Zhao family really are. Village chief, this family are murderers. You can't harbor murderers. This was my sister's doing. Coming to us is useless, I said coldly, my tone firm. When the Sun family parents heard this, they were even more furious, almost fainting. Just because your sister did it, does that mean it has nothing to do with you? You share the same blood. Your whole family are murderers. The door was suddenly flung open from the inside. My parents finally couldn't hold back any longer. They pulled the door open and said sternly, I haven't seen Xiaoxue for half a year. the police will clarify the matter once they catch the person involved. What's the use of you Sun family members blocking the door and causing a scene every day? The Sun family, seeing my parents come out, started causing a scene wildly. They demanded that my parents pay for their son's life, but Sun Yulei and Sun Huang were already dead and gone. Even if they killed my parents, there was no way to bring them back to life. They shouted that if my parents couldn't pay, then our whole family should die. Since the Sun family's lineage is gone, they have nothing to lose and are determined to make our family pay. Just as the argument was reaching its peak, the police arrived. They had caught my sister and were now bringing her to identify the scene. You damned murderer, give me back my son's life. You should die. Why don't you just shoot her, officer? She's a murderer. Shoot her right now. Sun's mother cried until she nearly fainted. The Sun family wanted to take matters into their own hands but were stopped by the police. Police procedures follow established protocols and cannot be changed just because someone makes a scene. Instead, the Sun family's commotion disrupted the normal order that should have been maintained here, and they were warned. My sister got out of the police car. Compared to the last time she came home, she now looked even more aged and exhausted. Not only was half of her face disfigured, but even the other half, which was still intact, now bore many new scars from being beaten, old wounds with new ones, not from the same time. It's likely they were inflicted during a fight with Sun Yulei. After all, the village chief just told me that since the beginning of this year, he's heard many stories about these two fighting each other, and the fights are getting increasingly violent. In the past, they would fight and then make up on their own, but in the later fights, they wouldn't stop until one of them was sent to the hospital. Moreover, my sister's left hand was once dislocated during a fight, and it was the village chief who helped put it back in place. Zhao Anshua saw me, and a vengeful smirk curled at the corner of her lips. So what if you got into university? You won't pass the political review, and you won't be assigned a job. I never imagined that Zhao Anshua would go to such lengths to get back at me. If I can't pass the political screening, do you think you'll fare any better? Killing is illegal. You'll face the firing squad. I was truly driven mad by this foolish sister of mine. So what, Zhao Anmin? I can start over, but in this timeline, you'll have to endure the agony of failing the political screening forever. She chuckled softly, sounding like a complete madwoman. She thought I hadn't been reborn, and that even if she died, she could just start over. How utterly naive. Reincarnation isn't like cabbage. How could it be something you can just have whenever you want? I don't know what caused us to have another chance in my previous life, but now, death is death. There's absolutely no chance of starting over again. My mother, upon hearing my sister's words, was so angry that she fainted on the spot. She never could have imagined that the daughter she had raised as a precious treasure since childhood could be so extreme, using her own life to frame her own sister. How could she do such a thing? The scene was in complete chaos. My dad took my mom to the hospital for emergency treatment. I followed the crowd to see my sister identify the crime scene. The Sun family kept cursing and shouting, demanding that the police execute my sister without a trial since she had already confessed. Amidst all the chaos and turmoil, my sister was sentenced to death, to be carried out 2 months later. My parents were so shocked that their hair turned gray almost overnight. We couldn't stay in the village any longer. After all, the Sun family had lost 2 important sons, which was a devastating blow. However, the truth that came out during the trial left everyone sighing with sorrow. The Sun family parents said they would take good care of this daughter-in-law, but in reality, from the moment she entered the door, Zhao Anshua had to empty the urine bucket for her disabled husband and learn how to give massages. Sometimes, for reasons unknown, she would provoke Sun Yulei and be beaten with his crutch. Of course, at first, the beatings were only in places that couldn't be seen. When it came to meals, she had to wait until the whole family had finished eating before she could have some leftovers. After that, she had to wash the dishes immediately. If she was even slightly slow in cleaning up, she would be scolded by Mrs. Sun. They said the daughter-in-law they had married was lazy and unwilling to work, and that the bride price they paid would have been better spent on buying a dog, which at least would know how to bark. Sun Huang, that little devil, is even worse. The stepmother, who doesn't act like a stepmother, frequently resorts to underhanded tricks to torment Zhao Anshua, pinning countless false accusations on her. And Zhao Anshua, because she initially had her sights set on a life of wealth 3 years later, had been trying to please this family all along. Enduring these incidents in silence, it wasn't until she met me on the bus, and Sun Yulei was also reborn, that she realized through our conversation that this family wasn't as capable as she had thought. She could not, like my past self, meticulously care for Sun Yulei back to health. nor did she have the ability to start a company and earn a fortune. Thinking back on how she had been tormented for so long, only to see her dream of a wealthy life as a socialite vanish into thin air, she finally erupted and stopped pretending altogether. But since she had already fallen out with her parents earlier, she had no intention of going home. All she wanted was to take revenge for all the grievances and suffering she had endured before. In fact, Sun's parents even claimed that Zhao Anshua had once cooked with rat poison. Because Sun's mother had a keen sense of smell, she noticed something was off and saw that the rat poison at home was gone, so she didn't eat it, which is why nothing happened otherwise. There might not have been a single survivor in their entire family. We can't live in the village anymore. The Sun family keeps coming to cause trouble, and since Zhao Anshua killed 2 of their people, compensation is needed. In the end, after discussing with my family, we gave all our land and house to the Sun family as compensation. That was everything we had. We couldn't offer more. Of course, I wasn't going to use my own things to clean up Zhao Anshua's mess. I told my parents that we could set up a stall in the north or find a job in a shop. Let's not go to the south. It's better for the family to stay together. They agreed. Before we left, we went to see my sister. Her long hair had been cut into a short bob. My mother couldn't hold back her tears at the sight of her. Xiaoshua used to care so much about her appearance. Yes, ever since we were little, my sister was always better at dressing up than me. She loved braiding her hair into all kinds of pretty styles and wearing the most beautiful dresses, but now, her face was covered in scars from burns and beatings. There are also many scars on my arms, all of which were inflicted by Sun Yulei. Since my previous life, I have told my sister that my life is not as happy as she imagined. I wanted to roll up my sleeves to show her those overlapping scars, but she said I was showing off the gold jewelry on my wrist. I explained that Sun Yulei bought it for me to save face. She reached out her hand. If you don't like showing off, then give it to me. I shook my head and refused, explaining to her that if I gave it to her, I would get beaten when I got home. However, she stubbornly believed I was making excuses, and in the end, she even pushed me off the cliff. This is my sister. When my parents had cried enough, I finally got the microphone. I just want to ask one question. Why do you hate me so much? We are twin sisters, and we should be the closest siblings in the eyes of the outside world. You stole my nutrients in the womb, making me weak and sickly since childhood, and not as smart as you. If it weren't for you, all of our parents' love would be mine. You took everything from me. How dare you ask me why? These 2 sentences were practically squeezed out from between my sister's teeth. I looked at her, utterly disappointed. This is my own sister. There's no point in saying more. I picked up the phone, ready to put it back in its place, when my sister's scream came from the other end. Zhao Anmin, just you wait. In the next life, I will definitely live better than you. I will make the most correct choices, and you will look up to me in the future. There has never been a right choice. Life is made by people, not by waiting around after making a choice. I said the last words to my sister in this lifetime. Of course, I knew she wouldn't listen, nor would she believe it. This time going back to school, I bought 3 tickets. They were for our family of 3. After getting off the train, I told my parents that I would rent a house for them near the school. Of course, the rented house was mine, and my parents paid the rent to me. I selected the products for them and told them where they could set up their stalls. Naturally, it wasn't on the street where I had set up my stall before. Since everyone there knew me, I didn't want my parents to find out how much money I had earned besides going to school. They were still in their prime, so of course they needed the ability to support themselves. I returned to school and didn't tell Xiao Wen about what had happened at home. After all, it involves political vetting, so this matter is still too serious. Seeing me return to the dorm, she was overjoyed and insisted on treating me to a meal. My brother is coming too. The 3 of us can finally be together again. Seeing Xiao Wen's carefree demeanor, I couldn't help but smile as well. It's still much more relaxed here at school. My life has returned to its previous routine. From Monday to Friday, I go to the library with the 2 of them at school. On Saturdays and Sundays, I go to the store to help out, checking the order volume and the profit shares. Of course, there's a little more to it now. I also have to visit my parents. They weren't used to it at first, but knowing they couldn't return to the village, they had to work even harder. During the new year, they told me they no longer wanted to set up a stall and instead wanted to get a small cart to sell food. After all, there are too many people setting up stalls now. If you bring in a new product today, the market will be flooded with it tomorrow. And there will even be price wars. Both of them are honest farmers, not as smooth-tongued as those who set up stalls. While others speak eloquently and convincingly, the 2 of them often stumble over their words. So even though I helped them choose products based on what was popular in my memory, they didn't sell very well. My mom has a great skill. She's really good at making the local snacks from our hometown. They noticed that no one around here was selling them. Moreover, when it comes to food, even if you have the intention to replicate it, the taste can vary depending on who makes it. I supported my mom and, based on the snacks I often saw later in my memory, encouraged her to try a few more recipes. After the new year, my mom set up her small stall. Her skills were excellent, and she made the snacks that remained popular in my memory, quickly attracting a large number of customers. The business is much better than I imagined. The couple, busy every day, finally have smiles on their faces that were once filled with worry. My academic performance has also skyrocketed, excelling in every subject. Shawan keeps saying I have a smart mind and insists that I become her sister-in-law. His brother confessed his feelings to me at graduation, and his job assignment, as expected, was local in every way. Li Wenxuan was an outstanding person, but with such a major incident happening in my family, I couldn't agree to be with him. I remember the look on his face that day, utterly defeated. He asked me, "Do I not meet your standards for a partner?" "No, you're great, it's my own issue." I shook my head. I used my studies as an excuse. I said I didn't know if I could stay in Beijing, and if I ended up being assigned a job far away from him, I felt I couldn't handle a long-distance relationship well. I don't know if my excuse was poorly made, but Li Wenxuan stubbornly believed that my response was because he hadn't given me enough sense of security, which led to my concerns. He sought me out even more frequently. Sometimes he would bring me the latest fashionable items from outside, other times he would come to discuss an academic question with me. At times, it might be a book, or he would invite me to watch a movie. Every good thing he could think of, he wanted to give to me. He expressed to me with an extremely serious attitude that he truly believes in me and wants to be with me. I confessed to Li Wenxuan that there is an issue with my political background check, and I won't be able to secure a stable job in the future. With his family background, they would never allow any blemish on their future daughter-in-law, even if that blemish was not caused by me. He firmly assured me that this matter would not affect us. Nowadays, many people in business can succeed. If I don't end up being assigned a good job, he can open a shop for me. He also told me that his aunt is doing business in the south and making a lot of money, and when the time comes, I can learn from her. Being a boss is no worse than having an iron rice bowl. Seeing that he was genuinely thinking about our future and had a proactive attitude towards solving problems, I finally agreed to be with him. After all, it's rare to meet someone sincere, especially since his sister is also my close roommate. You can get a sense of what the other person's family is like. In my junior year, I carefully pooled my savings and rented a storefront on a bustling street with a promising future. This is the future century-old branch of Quanjude, but now it's mine. After taking over, I hired workers to renovate it according to the style of a snack shop. Half a year later, the storefront was fully renovated. I gave this storefront to my mother as a gift for her 40th birthday. "Xiaoman, are you serious? This shop is ours now," my mom exclaimed, her eyes darting around the store's decor in disbelief. She clearly loved it, but the sheer size of the place made it feel utterly surreal. After all, we had even lost our own home. 2 years later, with no land or house to our name, we finally had our own shop. I'm not joking, I had the royalties from my published work before, plus the school's allowance, and the pocket money you and Dad usually give me. That's how I managed to get it. Yes, ever since my sister had the accident, Mom and Dad have been especially afraid of something happening to me too. Every week when I come home, they talk with me and give me quite a bit of pocket money. They said at the stall, they've heard many stories about young girls being deceived by those flashy guys. They say girls should be raised with plenty, and even if the family is poor, the road should be rich. I always need to have some money on me at school. I never refused what they gave me each time, just quietly saved it up, thinking about how to maximize the returns from this money. My parents' eyes are now all wet, looking at me, their lips trembling. "We never thought that in the end, you would be the most filial." I paused for a moment, knowing they were thinking of my sister again. They had locked me in the room back then, wanting me to pay for tutoring fees to help my sister get a divorce, and now they were filled with guilt toward me. "Let's go, let's take a look inside." I changed the subject. No matter what happens, we are still a family, and we can't truly live like enemies for a lifetime. My parents wiped their eyes and followed me into the shop. At this moment, I was already thinking to myself that I must treat myself better in the future. The interior decor was all renovated according to the style of trendy snack shops that I remembered from later years, which delighted my parents immensely. The elderly couple were busy planning what to place here and what to put there. From now on, they wouldn't have to endure the sun and rain. nor brave the wind and snow in the dead of winter to boil hot water. My parents' snack shop opened smoothly. A sign was placed at the spot where they used to set up their stall, indicating the location of the new shop. Some regular customers came by, drawn by its reputation. "Old Zhao, now that you've opened a shop, it's much more convenient for us to eat. This seat is really comfortable. Is this your daughter? She's so lovely." The opening day was bustling with activity, and I was helping out too. "Sister-in-law." A startled cry rang out. I looked up and saw it was Xiaowen. She was accompanied by a man and a woman, from the resemblance of about 4 or 5 parts to Xiaowen. I immediately guessed that they were her parents. They were also my future parents-in-law. I had imagined many scenarios of meeting my future in-laws, but I never expected it to be under such circumstances. "Xiaomen, come quickly and help serve the dishes for table 7, my mom shouted from the kitchen. I didn't have time to explain to Xiaomen and immediately went to help serve the dishes. Xiaowen found a seat and sat down inside. Next to them were a few regular customers who knew my parents. They were currently discussing my family's situation. "I never expected old Zhao to have raised such a lovely girl, and I heard she's even a college student. My nephew happens to be around the same age. I think I could talk to old Zhao and see if we can set them up." "Hey, my son happens to be a college student too. They'd have something in common to talk about." Xiaowen was still explaining to her parents why she called her sister-in-law, but upon hearing the neighboring table's comment, she immediately shouted, "Sister-in-law, is this shop yours? Let me help you too." Xiaowen eagerly dashed into the kitchen to help carry plates. I could feel my parents' intense gazes. Despite being overwhelmingly busy, they still seized the opportunity to corner me and press for answers. "Where did this girl come from? Why did she call you sister-in-law as soon as she saw you? Are you in a relationship?" My parents' relentless triple interrogation made me feel an unprecedented sense of pressure from them. Getting married isn't necessarily a good thing. You must keep your eyes open and not just settle for anyone, especially in a big city where there are even more rules to follow. After what happened with my sister getting married, my parents clearly have some lingering fears about marrying off their daughters. They told me to focus on my studies and not rush into marriage. They said it's fine for me to date, but when it comes to marriage, I need to think it through carefully. They've also matured a lot through this experience. After all, the customers had left. Only my parents and Xiaowen remained in the shop. My mother took out 100 yuan. "Young lady, you must be tired from all the work." "Auntie, I volunteered to help my sister-in-law, so I don't need any money." Xiaowen quickly pushed it back. "I had my own motives for helping just now. Auntie, my family is very nice, so please don't tell my sister-in-law about anyone else." Xiaowen has always been someone who can't keep things to herself, probably because she grew up in a very happy family environment and always speaks her mind directly. My parents exchanged a glance, both at a loss for what to do with Xiaowen. "Xiaowen is still young, there's no rush for marriage," my dad stated. Xiaowen looked as if the sky had fallen. When I returned to the dorm in the evening, she secretly asked me if she had been too impulsive, causing my parents to dislike her. "Even though you're marrying my brother, if your parents don't like me as a sister-in-law, it might affect their impression of my brother too." She scratched her head frantically, her face filled with regret. It was as if she was thinking, "Why did I have to rush into the kitchen to serve plates?" "Don't worry, my parents just don't want me to get married so soon. They have no issues with you," I reassured Xiaowen. I still haven't told Xiaowen about my sister's situation, as she's too straightforward and can't keep a secret. The next day, Li Wenxuan brought gifts to my family's shop. He apologized for my sister's rash behavior yesterday and also explained why his parents left right after the meal. They were just customers who came to eat yesterday, but today he formally visited my parents. If my parents think he's okay, he'll arrange for both families to meet later. Li Wenxuan's politeness kept my parents from kicking him out, but they just said I'm still young and we can talk about it later. In my senior year, I graduated as an outstanding graduate. Because of my sister, some important positions were not open to me. I chose to start my own business. The field of future technology will be highly advanced. I established my own company and began recruiting tech professionals who would become well known in the future. Because I was reborn, I had a vivid memory of many future trends and widely recognized advertisements. My company is doing very well. My parents' snack shop has also opened a chain. 2 years after graduation, my parents finally relented. "I can get married now." Li Wenxuan immediately brought his parents to my home. My future father-in-law and mother-in-law are both good professors, indeed easy to talk to. With open minds, my parents felt much more at ease and began earnestly preparing my dowry. Half a year later, I got married. In addition to some conventional dowry items, I asked my parents for a courtyard house as part of my marriage portion. They couldn't understand why I was so keen on a courtyard house, especially since it was just a run-down little yard costing a little over 10,000 yuan, nowhere near as impressive as the newly built apartment buildings outside. I didn't explain, but in the future, when they see the skyrocketing property prices, they'll understand why I spent whatever money I had on buying a rundown little yard. After all, it's the gold nugget of this era. Li Wenxuan knew I liked it, and among the dowry he gave me were 2 courtyard houses. After marriage, Li Wenxuan worked at the National Research Institute, while I ran my own small